Fuego Pizza presents SDP, the Steve Dangle Podcast, with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go!
Hockey is back, baby! Woo! Woo! We're talking about an actual game today. Also, a couple other good pieces of news. Jesse is wearing a PK Subban Nashville Predators Stanley Cup Finals t-shirt that he bought at the Stanley Cup Finals when we were there.
I did not buy it. It was given to us by a listener who brought us down there.
Oh, Kevin.
Kevin gave you that.
Kevin got us all shirts, did he not?
Well, yes, he did, but I didn't realize he got you the PK one. Come on.
He got me the PK one. He gave it to us right outside of Bridgestone, I believe, after we landed.
Man,
So do you remember this? Because it was Nashville, right? It was a sea of yellow, but every now and then we would see 5 girls in purple. And then a sea of yellow and 5 girls in green. Because all that was going on was the Stanley Cup Final and bachelorette parties.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yes.
That's all that was going on. That's what I remember about that.
Not Bachelorette, the TV show, actual bachelorette parties.
I mean, never know. Maybe they TV on the Pedal Tavern and
the other thing is Jesse is broadcasting from his brand new apartment.
I am also not doing that. I'm still in the old place.
He's in the old apartment. Hey, Jesse, show us your old apartment.
Rough start.
Yeah. Well, listen,
we're rusty.
Okay, so hold on. Can you show us around your old apartment? I'd like to see it.
No, I can't. I can't move the computer.
Oh, okay.
This was the mistake I made just before we started last time, Adam. I go, wow, front entrance looks, it's just like your old setup. He's like,
oh, man. No. See, nothing bothers me right now, not even that intro, because I had the crispiest nap. It was like the angels were singing above my head as I woke up, not 15 minutes ago. And I feel fantastic. And I also feel fantastic about the fact that I fell asleep in the middle of the third period with the Leafs last night because I am becoming my parents. But you guys, The Toronto Maple Leafs won an exhibition game. Now, does it matter?
No.
Not really. But of all the exhibition games they've ever played, this one probably matters the most because there's only one in the series of exhibition games.
Can I say?
Also, they're going into a spot where they have to play in for the playoffs. And yes, Steve, go ahead.
The Montreal Canadiens were so bad that I'm mad the Leafs played them for their warm-up.
Yeah.
They were awful. That's an awful hockey team, the one that we saw last night. They should not be here.
So here's what I wondered. Is it they to me, it just seemed like the Canadiens had a bad night because they played the Leafs really well this year. Obviously, that first time Hutchinson's in net, and I think the second time too. So a bit skewed, but they had that huge comeback right at the beginning of the season.
Yep.
I get that there's no fans, and I get that it's not a real game, but that's precisely why I think Montreal's better than what they showed last night. There's no I know the power play is ranked 22nd in the league. I know, but there is no way Montreal is that bad. And there's no way Toronto's penalty kill is that good. I think Montreal was more bad than Toronto was good, especially on special teams last night.
That's how as bad the Montreal – yes. No, seriously, both teams had pretty good PKs. But this is what I've been talking about with the advantage that the Leafs have. They don't do so great against heavily structured teams, or at least they struggle against them. They struggle against teams that thrive on intensity, right? The Bruins have pretty much all the skill the Leafs have, plus they have that.
Structure and intensity?
Absolutely. They definitely have way more structure, more intensity, skill. I still probably give the Leafs the advantage, but obviously it hasn't worked because of the other two things. Mm-hmm. Columbus is kind of like that. They thrive on structure. John Tortorella structure. They thrive on intensity. They lost Panarin. They lost Bobrovsky. They remind me a little bit of the Islanders that lost John Tavares and then went on to make the playoffs. Anyway,
right.
The Canadiens are like that too. When they're at their most intense, they definitely don't have the structure of the two teams I just mentioned. But when they play full blown intense, they're hard to beat. Last night was a pillow fight. It was awful. That was really bad to watch. And how about Jake Muzzin nearly kills a man and no one even says anything?
Yeah, that was pretty wild.
He mashed that guy. Belzile?
It's his first game too.
I'd never heard of him.
I never heard of him either.
Destroyed that guy. Destroyed him and blocked a Shea Weber shot. Like, someone should have told Jake Muzzin what kind of game this was. And Zach Hyman, who was trying his heart out. And Nick Robertson, who was trying his heart out.
Well, Nick Robertson needed to.
Needed to.
And in fact, before we get to that, I'm going to run down the structure of this show. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the Leafs and Habs. We're going to talk about the Flames and Oilers. And we're going to talk about the Flyers and Pittsburgh Penguins quickly. And then we're going to get into the actual projections of what each series we think it's going to look like, right? The play-in rounds, okay? So try to stay away, guys, from saying too much about Columbus just yet, because I'm going to need a little zip from you on that. However, there are issues facing each of the teams that I mentioned, and that's what I want to talk about. And the first and foremost, because the hype train is, it's literally painted Nick Robertson on the side of it right now. How do you feel he did? The Kerfoot Kapanen line that he was paired with, scored 2 goals. Nick Robertson got himself an assist, which he set up. And now we used to make fun of this kind of assist because it was the ghost assist, right? It was the Thomas Cabriolet to somebody who then gets it to somebody else and scores. But that play develops because Nick Robertson slides the puck over to Morgan Rielly, who then shoots it or hard passes it to Alexander Kerfoot, who puts it in the net. I'm wondering, from what you saw with Kerfoot last night, gentlemen, both of you, Jesse, I know you were working. Or not working, well, working and moving. Did you have time to think about whether or not, Jesse, Nick Robertson makes this lineup? I'm asking you both. Does Nick Robertson play on Sunday? Sunday.
Can I answer first, Steve?
Absolutely, sir.
Brian Burke, the great hockey mind, has been peddling a narrative over the last couple of days that the Leafs don't need more soft skill. That Nick Robertson in this lineup is a little redundant. And I don't disagree with his theory. Ooh. If the Leafs excel at skill, if their best aspect of hockey is playing this fast-paced game where they can outscore everybody, why are we adding a player who simply adds to that? Why are we doubling down on this one thing?
Because
on the strength. Because they're already. Why not try and balance out the lineup?
Oh man, that's the most Brian Burke take I've ever heard in my life. Hey, we're all swimming this one way. Nah, I'm going to swim the other. Okay, fair. We'll get now. Steve, go ahead. What's your response to that?
Well, so you're right. They don't need more of that. So let's then put in Pierre Engvall or Frederic Gauthier. Frederic Gauthier has never thrown a hit that he hasn't fallen down from.
True.
You know what I mean? Like, this guy, I've said it, and I'll say it again. The Leafs are obviously hamstrung by the salary cap, but one way they'd be very wise to spend their money is to pay somebody. It's a little bit more difficult. Actually, it'd probably be easier in the bubble. Pay someone whose job is to follow Frederic Gauthier around and fuck up his day. Fuck up his coffee order. Every time you see him barefoot, you throw Lego on the floor. Just every time you see his perfectly gelled hair, you ruffle it and you screw it up and you run away. You blow bubbles at him. If he's wearing a white shirt, you squirt mustard on it. Just piss him off. But if you want grit in the Leafs lineup, who's it coming from? Is it coming from Goat? No. Is it coming from Engvall? No. It's coming from Clifford, but Robertson's not stealing his job, is he?
It's Clifford and Muzzin.
Yeah, I say leave Robertson in there because he's actually raised the bar of intensity for this Leafs group. He's someone who is battling. Engvall and Goat should be battling too. Their position in this lineup is not for certain, but I saw only one guy who was playing desperate, and that was Robertson. Now, was his first period good? No,
it was not good.
No.
But that's okay. He's 18. Mm-hmm. I think the thing for me here, Jesse, is, and I respect yours and Brian Burke's points, your collective points. It's like when Michael Scott has, you miss 100% of the shots, you don't take it. It's Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. It's kind of the same
This
thing.
lineup
Jesse
needs
Blake,
more grit.
Ryan Burke, Jesse Blake. My thinking is, I haven't seen my radar is a little bit different than Steve's, but I always like to look at the effect that a new player on a line has on the other two guys who are on it. And it's not that Nick Robertson being there made Alexander Kerfoot score 2 goals. I mean, Nick Robertson's directly responsible for the play that set up the first one. But again, you had to add a Morgan Rielly to that, who is an elite level talent. I think the way Kapanen played last night, the way Kerfoot played last night, Kapanen had a few shots. Of course, they were always at the chest because that's where he shoots it. But the point is that line was against a not as good Montreal team, was a bit of an X factor. Now, it doesn't mean it was great to see Tavares and Mikheyev score within the first 20 seconds. They were rolling. Matthews had a few good moves in there too. It was good to see him rolling. But what I like about this and what I think is going to be the difference in this series with the Blue Jackets, and again, we won't get to that too much, is doubling down on what you are. Because you know for sure the Blue Jackets are going to double down on what they are. What they are is what they are. And the effect that having a skill guy in that line, like I looked at the way Nick Robertson and Alexander Kerfoot and Kapanen could just keep the puck down low. That's one of the major things the Leafs struggled against in the last 2 years against the Bruins. They could not cycle low. And if they ever got cycled low against them, they were screwed. It was going to be there. It was going to be there for 2 minutes. So I think in saying that, I put him in the lineup once, and I want to see what happens. Engvall and Gauthier are all going to play, right? They're going to play. They're going to draw in. It's a matter of where.
Engvall's the odd man out at practice today, by the way. Sorry.
That is shocking. That is shocking to me.
That tweet just came down. So the fourth line is Clifford, Goat, Spezza.
That's shocking. Shocking news. But I love the fact that they're willing to give this a shot. I think he's earned just one kick at the can against the Blue Jackets, and I don't think it's going to hurt to have him. I want to see how disciplined he plays and how he handles a very, very tough Blue Jackets defense. Now, let's move on because, again, we're getting into a little too close to let's project the series territory. But Ilya Mikheyev.
Okay. I wanted to give you props, Adam. Because you pointed something out that was very clever.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if even you noticed it.
I don't think I did.
Kapanen always shooting at the chest.
Oh.
Do you remember, it's difficult because you fell asleep. Do you remember the first shorthanded goal?
Yes, I rewound. Don't worry.
Kasperi Kapanen on the breakaway, shoots low, gets a rebound, Kerfoot roofs it.
Mm-hmm.
Sheldon Keefe has to say to Kasperi Kapanen, if you lift the puck off the ice, I'm benching you. Because he's got that line, man.
Could be.
Just friggin' shoot low. Robertson's going to bury it.
Mm-hmm.
And if he doesn't, apparently Kerfoot's got some finishing power too.
He does.
If there's a rebound, Robertson's going to be there first, and it's going in. Don't you dare raise the puck. You shoot one puck at the chest. I'm benching you, Cappy.
And there was an odd man rush where Kapanen was actually aware of the other players there, which is rare for him. And it's like, great, that's awesome. Like this is what you do with that skill set. It's such a great skill set. And that's what's so delicious about watching him play is it's like, oh, and remember, guys, I mean, if Jesse, back to your point for a second, if Andreas Janssen is healthy, I don't think we're having this discussion.
No, I think you're right.
Like, they're not going to put Nick Robertson on the fourth line. We'll see at camp
Probably
next
not.
year, that sort of thing. But what this opens up for the Toronto Maple Leafs long term, and I don't want to talk contracts, I want to talk games because we actually got to talk about them. But everybody knows that the Leafs aren't in Vancouver contract hell, but they're pretty tight. They need to move on from somebody who makes $3 or $4 million, maybe two guys. That's Kerfoot, Kapanen, and Janssen. One of those three, potentially two, gone next season. So you can move those guys out, get fair value back, put it on the back end or whatever it is you can get back for them, maybe more of a controlled contract. If Nick Robertson is able to step in here while Janssen's injured and he proves that he can play in the playoffs, then he can play regular season, which means this summer, this off season at the end of October, you have more options rather than going, I guess we'll see in training camp. We know the answer already. and we can move on from one of these guys and bring back some value and dump some salary at the same time, which is very, very exciting. So let's move on to Ilya Mikheyev. Guys, when you see that happen in the first, 10 seconds, 20 seconds?
33.
33.
Yeah. That is all.
How do you feel? Tell me the feeling. Don't tell me the reaction. Tell me the feeling. What do you feel in your chest?
Oh, you know what? Warmth. Like I'm cared for. like I've come in after a cold winter's morning, shoveling the driveway. Wife's got to get to work, and I got to do my husbandly duty. Just get out there, move some pow. You know what I mean? And then I come in, and what do I got to do, Adam? I got to warm myself.
Well, you must be starving after working that hard.
Oh, tell me about it. I'm famished, Adam. What
you
sort
don't
of
want
thing?
to wait. You don't want to wait to make something. You gotta grab something now. I'm hungry now.
Yeah, and look at me. I'm hot. I'm svelte. I need something light but hearty.
I don't want to come back to this kitchen within 3 hours. I got work to do.
I'm trying to eat, damn it. I'm going to have some soup. Just warmed my heart. One of the things I've been talking to people about is, Morgan Rielly being out of the lineup sucked. That was really bad. Losing Muzzin sucked. They lost Marner for stretches. Andreas Janssen essentially did not play this season. John Tavares broke his finger. Austin Matthews played hurt.
Freddie was playing hurt. Freddie
was playing hurt and then was hurt. This year, one thing going back through this whole season made me realize is what a nightmare of a season it was from the roster and just what happened in games. Losing Ilya Mikheyev ruined the offensive plan for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He was such a key Jenga piece. And if you go and look at the Leafs record with Sheldon Keefe as head coach and Ilya Mikheyev in the lineup, it was like 12-4. Like it was, I'm sure it was just a hot streak, but it was ridiculous. They were so good. You take him out. All of a sudden, one of the more defensively responsible players, fast, lanky players on your team comes out, and you're like, oh, we got to plug that hole. Okay, well, we're going to plug him with Engvall. And he was good for a bit, and then he wasn't any good. Okay, well, so we're going to take Engvall out of there. Who else can – well, okay, we'll try Kapanen on the left wing. And oh crap. Okay, that doesn't work either. Okay, so we're going to take Spezza moves up, and Kerfoot is now the winger. And, this line is really good. This works. But lines 3 and 4 suck. And, oh, my God. And they just spent the rest of the season playing whack-a-mole after Ilya Mikheyev got hurt. Last night, he's there, bangs in the first one. Kerfoot gets the next two because he's exactly where he should be, which means Kapanen is exactly where he should be. The Leafs forward group, the way it is, we're arguing about like a player on the third line and the fourth line. Forget about it. The offense, the way it is top 5 in this league. It's so good. Yes, Jesse?
What does that mean about how Dubas built the team if you're taking how important is Mikheyev's contract on this team? He's got to be like 12th. You probably rank 12 guys ahead of it, and you're taking the 13th most important contract on the team. You're taking him out, and there's
the Jenga piece right there, number 13.
I know.
That's terrible. Like, this isn't a good thing.
No, it's not.
Everything you're saying this sounds like catastrophe.
Jesse, you're right. You're right. And this is getting away from the conversation of last night, but because Matthews took some criticism this season, and obviously he barreled through it. He got 47 goals. Nylander didn't take any. He scored over 30. Tavares took some, but if you
broken finger, man, and then he came back and couldn't shoot.
If you look at his numbers, he actually did pretty well despite the broken finger, and some of his best production came in games that the Leafs ended up losing, so it sort of got buried. He didn't get the glory. And Mitch Marner too. He had a few really bad plays, and people were bitter about the contract. Look at the numbers. He had a good season. The big four did their job. But when Mikheyev went down, the depth, they just couldn't figure it out. Now, Jesse, I don't know if this is the day for the conversation, but so we did we did a playoff preview show with Justin Bourne. I just did. It's about 50 minutes long. It's up on the Sportsnet YouTube channel if you want to check it out after this. But I go, you know what? If the Leafs lose against Columbus, they got to look at blowing it up. And his eyes
aggressive.
His eyes went as wide as dinner plates because he's like, you're going to base the future of the franchise on this?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm basing it on this and the last 3 years. Get over the hump. Get over it. Dude, hold
on though. If they now again, we're stepping into Columbus preview territory here. But if they beat Columbus, Steve, they'll only just be on par with last year.
I know. But if they lose to Columbus, it's even worse.
And then beat the next team.
If they lose to Columbus, they're not even on par.
I guess.
So, but they had 2 shorthanded goals yesterday, and did you see what was on the penalty kill? A holy shitting, oh my godding center.
Who was that, Steve? What's that person?
Alexander Kerfoot.
Oh, he's a center.
Who was also injured at one point this season and suspended after he came back from injury. It was that kind of season. But the little things that this team has needed over the past couple years, I'm like, Doobie, I love you. How don't you have one of these things? How did he make a bet on Curtis McElhinney, or make a bet against Curtis McElhinney that I defended, and I defended the logic of? How did that bet then turn into 2 years of searching for a goalie? That was one. And the other is the straw that stirred the drink on the penalty kill was Per Lindholm. He was the last natural center on the penalty kill. Mm-hmm. Don't you dare go and tell me Frederick Gauthier. Don't you dare go and tell me about take the face off and scamper to the bench as fast as you can because you're a liability out there on the penalty kill. Alexander Kerfoot was the first natural center they've had, a first natural center regular in the lineup, every game player they've had since Per Lindholm. That's inexcusable, man. There's lots of, and don't even get me started on the defense. And those are 3 things that we've been talking about for at least 2 years. Mm-hmm. So, not to get too inside baseball, I don't know if I'm ruining your show plan here, Adam.
Not at all.
I'm excited for hockey to be back, and maybe you shouldn't base too much on whatever this is. But if they fail against Columbus, people, rightly or wrongly, are going to look at the job Dubas has done and gone, how well has this gone actually? And I'm honestly not sure how much I'm going to be like, oh, come on, guys, you're being ridiculous.
Well, this is the point where it's like you got to put up or shut up, right?
Yeah.
And I agree with you there. I wouldn't blow it up yet, but maybe one more year.
Blow it up. Like, I'm not talking about trade Austin Matthews, but like we've been talking about trade a $3 or $4 million winger. That's another thing for 2 years. Mm-hmm. Okay, well now with Robertson and McKayev, you have to.
Yeah.
Well, you do have to. Yeah. So one of them's cost controlled, but the other is like, here's the thing: the guys that are in this picture are McKayev, Janssen, and Kapanen. Those are the guys. Yes. You want to keep McKayev, one of them's got to go.
Clifford's gone, too. He's got to have a big playoff. If he does, then maybe you keep him. But I doubt it.
But apparently he wants over $2 million, and they just can't afford that.
No.
So
just simply no.
Yeah. So it's, they've got Engvall, they've got Gauthier. They can sort that out, and Spezza can draw in on as a 4th-line center. So here's the thing, though. If you're talking about that, Kapanen, Kerfoot, Janssen, you need to keep Kerfoot because he's a center, right? Mm-hmm. And Kapanen's got that special skill set. But here's the problem that I find with Kapanen. Every time they move him into that top 6, he underperforms.
So special on the PK.
He is special on the PK. Agreed.
Every time I see him on the PK, I'm like, how do you get rid of him?
Andreas Janssen comes in, and he is solid all the way around. But to Jesse's point a little bit earlier about a completely different subject, how much of Andreas Janssen's skill do we need in this lineup versus somebody else? And that, to me, makes him the odd man out. Yeah. Now, he's going to be harder to trade because he's just coming off a knee injury.
His value's low.
Value's low. However, somebody might be bargain shopping and go, I'd take a shot on Andreas Janssen. Why not?
Isn't this great?
Well,
isn't this great? Didn't you miss this?
No, I did. Now, remember, they've got Lettinen and Barabanov coming in. Lettinen's a defenseman, but Barabanov could be a player. Who knows? Maybe he sucks. But I think that you're going to see one of those 3 guys go. And my guess is going to be Andreas Janssen, not because he's not a great guy, but because the skill set that Kapanen possesses is too special. Kerfoot's a center. Robertson's coming in. You can't let Mikheyev walk. You just can't. He's too good.
Remember Barabanov?
Yeah, I know, right?
Remember Mikko Lednin? Oh my God.
Is it just me or is the Leafs power play, like, are we concerned about this yet? Again?
No. That's one that I feel like, we talked about structure.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not there. Like, I sort of wished – this is the problem with the warm-up game, right? I don't think it's a good indicator, really, of how good or bad a team is at all, because you might force it, like I think the Leafs power play was last night, to establish your structure when they could have just gotten a little sloppier and relied on their skill and maybe banged one in. I don't know. I think teams are going to force it, and you're going to look and you're going to go, they kind of suck. I don't know. I think they were just trying to stick to the script and make it work yesterday.
Yeah, and I think when your power play consists of those 4 all-stars, like you can't – eventually you got to be like, okay, these guys are going to put it together. They're going to have a little hot streak on the power play.
Paul McFarland's been blamed for a lot of the power play struggle this year. And last year. The whole thing. Now, he's leaving anyway. But how much do you think a healthy Morgan Rielly would have helped, even if Paul McFarland was leaving, would have helped the power play numbers? Because
hugely.
Excuse me. What I saw last night.
Oh, my God.
What I saw last night, it's coffee ground. It's not COVID. Don't worry.
That was fun.
Everybody after listening to the show gets tested.
It comes through the microphones and infects the frogs. Okay. Anyway.
So the thing that I noticed yesterday, obviously Morgan Rielly with a goal and an assist, great game, solid game all the way around. Looked fresh, looked healthy, looked
Sick
like
flow.
himself, and cool as a cucumber. Every time he scores, he's like, yeah, thanks, cool, great. He looked like the guy that scored 70 points last year. Because remember, Morgan Rielly had 70 points last year. 70.
Over 20 goals.
Yeah, defenseman on the Toronto Maple Leafs with 70 points.
Goofy.
I don't know if it's ever happened. And if it has, it's been like 40 years. And no one talked about it.
I'll let you know in a second.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
But the point here, he clearly didn't break any records. Otherwise, I would have said something. But the point I'm trying to make here is that Morgan Rielly really is that centerpiece on the power play to start, I think. Mm-hmm. And, Mitch Marner's got his role. Matthews got his role. Like, Mitch Marner's on the far wall. You know that. Matthew, Tavares is cleaning stuff in front of the net. Matthews is either on his side or the offside, ready to fire like an unbelievable shot at the net. If you don't have Morgan Rielly there, I don't think that any of those guys feel in their minds that they can play the same role that they're meant to play. Meaning that if somebody is stepping into that role, and this is no disrespect to Tyson Barrie, these guys have just been together longer. Morgan Rielly puts them in their comfort zone. And I think at the beginning of the season, when Tyson Barrie was put in that role, I believe with Keefe over Morgan Rielly took a step back and said, yeah, you got to let players be the best that they can be. And I'm glad that they tried it. But Morgan Rielly is very clearly the top defenseman and the top power play guy on this team. And I feel like beyond what he brings skill-wise, which is unmatchable, there is also that comfort factor that the other guys, the forwards, are going to have to be in their happy place and shoot the things and play and pass the things that they should pass and shoot. You know what I'm saying?
And just like a small thing. So Andreas Jansson's out of the lineup, and he was the kind of bang-in guy on the second power play unit. Sometimes the first, depends on who was healthy. He's obviously not there anymore. Zach Hyman was actually doing a very good job filling in for him as the banging guy.
Right.
And to me, that's what that second unit was missing. Someone needs to establish themselves as the banging guy. And it's got to be someone, I think Kerfoot, I guess, coming off the corner, because that's going to be Robertson's job. If he's in the lineup.
Right.
If he's that's another thing, like such a special skill set that I think could really exploit teams. You have him on a power play with Spezza and Kerfoot, two natural playmakers. Oh no, Barry's on the top unit, man.
No, he is on the top unit. I thought it was Rielly.
I think they might have
last night.
I think they might have switched it. They had a little Rielly Dermott.
Listen, I fell asleep. So
before the season was on pause, Barry was on the top unit. Remember they switched it for the last 2 weeks there.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're going to go with.
It wasn't going
on and off.
Yeah.
I think
to answer your question, Adam, Ian Turnbull is the record. He has 79 points in a season for a defenseman. So,
and that was in the goofy 70s, was it not?
Yeah. Where he's defense pairing with Boris Salming.
Oh,
wow.
Okay.
Not bad. Not bad.
Okay.
Yeah, that would have been their only good defense pairing that year because Harold Ballard would only pay for one. So, I got to say, I think, remember we were doing those era-adjusted things? We would talk about them. Steve, you would actually write them with I think some of the pension plan puppets guys did them too back in the day. If you were to era adjust what Morgan Rielly did last year and compare it to the top defensemen in each era for the Toronto Maple Leafs in terms of points or best single season, I think Morgan Rielly comes out on top.
I can look that up right now.
Yeah, what's 79 points in 1977?
Yeah, can you actually do a conversion calculator?
Yeah, there's a little thing, right?
It is hockeyreference.com. Why isn't
Steve and I were talking about them this morning, actually. I was very frustrated.
I think hockey
Were you?
reference.
I love Hockey Reference.
No, not Hockey Reference. I was frustrated with another site that does not list playoff stats for goalies, and that was frustrating for me. And Steve said, why don't you try Hockey Reference? And this is not a paid ad, but wow, did I find what I was looking for.
Hockey references.
Call us Hockey Reference. We'd love to promote you.
Yeah. Give you money.
No, we wouldn't pay you. They'd pay us.
Oh, right. Sorry. Man, I'm not sleeping, dude. I'm not sleeping.
Steve will trade you some dolls. It'll be cool.
Hey, they're very valuable. Some worth up to $60. All right. Now, how did I find era adjusted? I don't know. If you guys talk, I'll find it. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Here it is.
Okay.
So don't you say a fucking word, Jesse. You fucking found it. Shut up.
Shut the Jesse, God damn it. Okay, so
glad we went down this rabbit hole. This is great.
1976-77. In 80 games, he had 79 points, as Jesse said. Era adjusted, that is 70 points.
Tied.
Hold on. How many games did Rielly play last year? He didn't play all.
Wait.
Oh.
Because
Rielly played less games.
We haven't adjusted Rielly in 82 games.
In the 70s.
No, this is Rielly.
Mm-hmm.
In 82 games.
So, but no, hold on. Before you announce it. So you adjusted Ian Turnbull's 79 from 77 to what?
7
last
points.
To 2019?
It's been okay. So era adjusted.
Or is there some
maybe we should explain this first.
Yeah,
explain this.
Because if you're error adjusting Rielly, that doesn't make sense.
Right. So, a 120 point performance, for example, in 1983, let's say, is not as valuable as a 120 point performance now. Because teams score less. So basically, they take the total amount of goals from this season and the total amount of goals from that season, and they're like, here's what the equivalent is, sort of, if that makes sense. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Ian Turnbull, because the 70s, I guess, were a higher scoring era than it is now, his 79 drops to 70, which actually isn't that big of a drop, I should say. So it's a relatively similar scoring era.
So what are you doing with Rielly's number?
I'm not doing anything. Hockeyreference.com just lists, here's what his era adjusted stats are.
Oh, okay.
Right.
But why? What are you era adjusting Rielly to if he's in the era now?
No, it'd be like if Turnbull was playing now. And
it comes out to 70.
I think it's basic. I think it's the average of all NHL history. Pretty sure.
Okay, do the calculation and then see what number do we get.
No calculation. You just read it off the site, Jesse.
Okay, what number is it?
In 82 games, Rielly had 72 era adjusted points.
Oh.
I don't understand where
that's
those
the best season ever.
Which is 72. It says 72 last year, so I guess maybe it's comparing it to now. I'm not totally sure.
I'm saying
I haven't done this in a very long time, Jesse. Thanks for completely ruining the bit. Hey, Jesse, can you check the bottom of your foot for this bit?
You gave Rielly 2 points for no reason.
No, I didn't. He has the same amount of points.
But you adjusted to now era, so why are we readjusting?
Morgan Rielly could kick Ian Turnbull's ass. Is what I said, Jesse. Adam, you ever go, I'm lucky to work with these guys.
I feel very good. I feel very good. I feel good. Okay. There's something I want to address. I want to spend 2 seconds on it, and then I want to move on, unless you guys would really like to drive this point home.
Good luck with that, Adam.
But what chicken shit thing is this linking arms before the game? Are they serious?
2 seconds? Are you for real?
Like, I think it just goes along with what we were talking about earlier, but that is some chicken shit nonsense bullshit.
Yeah. You can't kneel on skates.
Yes, yeah, you're right.
Is it just hard? Oh, okay.
No, Jesse, it's
not. Are we
not.
asking, is it difficult for them to be?
Whenever I play, I spend half the game on my knees. I suck. I fall down.
I just saw that, and I thought, we just still can't get this right, huh?
Oh, it's deliciously NHL. It's deliciously NHL.
I think it's ridiculous they also didn't paint Black Lives Matter somewhere in the arena or on the ice, because all the other major leagues are doing it. So.
Right. Oh, we're learning. Let's put out a statement.
Throw us a bone.
God, we care too. No, you don't. Shut up.
Well, and like there was a here. It's right here on my timeline actually. Tic Tac Tomar tweeted this out. So there's a warm up game between the Colorado Avalanche and the Minnesota Wild, and in the lineup there's Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, Matt Dumba, Nazem Kadri, and Jordan Greenway, and they're all players of color. They're all, hands on each other's shoulder. It was just another thing or a little thing that even though they weren't kneeling, you can tell like they actually give a shit about the thing that's happening at the moment. They're not just standing there confused like most of the players. I will say this, like a lot of the players might have actually wanted something a little bit better than what they did. And I think they were just standing there, first of all, in a surreal atmosphere to begin with. There's no people in the seats. It was they had a moment of silence for Eddie Shack that was not silent because there was crowd noise being pumped in, even though there was no crowd. It was a surreal atmosphere.
We don't need the crowd noise, do we? Do we need the crowd noise?
No. Well,
leave it.
I mean,
it helps a little bit when the game's going on.
I guess.
Have just a little room tone, and your room tone's got to be crowd noise.
Yeah, I was surprised how seamless it is. Not to get away from the conversation that we're having.
But the Eddie Shack thing was absurd.
That was I felt bad because I mean, the person who was doing that obviously has not done that since March.
Yeah.
Or
well, no one's pumping in crowd noise, right?
No one's pumping in crowd noise except for Montreal. I said it.
Yeah, there's a little of that going on, probably.
Yeah.
But
whenever they play the goal song in the background of the goal song, there's crowd noise in that as well. Like it's not everybody in the stadium.
Yeah, and in Toronto, they're not because it's fucking silent the whole time.
Yeah, that'll be.
Can't accuse us of that.
See, the Leafs were the visiting team yesterday. Sorry, to get back to what we were saying, it's a lot of people called it out for what it was or what it sure seemed like, which was performative. You know what I mean? And like they did.
Performative is a great word.
Performative. It's I hadn't really heard it used until like the past month. It's apt. But like, listen, a lot of individual players have spoken out against what's going on right now. They've spoken in support of Black Lives Matter. They've worn the Black Lives Matter shirts and everything. There's obvious progress happening, but then seeing what's happening in baseball and what the WNBA is doing and what's happening in soccer all over the world, and hockey comes back and they're standing next to each other, and I'm just like, okay, okay, like it's a dud. It's a dud. And then you say what you want to say because I'm going to bring up the Bruins statement and I want you to tell me if it smells funny.
Jesse?
My favorite parts of the podcast are when Steve wants to look up something and he says, "You talk now."
All right, shut up. I got it. Shut up. Ear adjusted.
All right, shut up.
I'm going to ear adjust the Bruins statement, and I'm not going to tell you how it works because I don't really know.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Mike Francesa is an old man. Now watch me do the exact same thing he does. The exact same thing.
Oh, man.
No, okay.
Retired, by the way, he's officially retired. So shout out to Mike.
Bullshit.
Till next year.
Yeah. So a statement from the Boston Bruins players. Over the past several months, we have been trying to educate ourselves and learn more about racial injustice in our country and around the world. Okay. Yeah, good. As a team, we have decided to lock arms during the play of the United States and Canadian anthems as a sign of solidarity with the Black community. Okay. And then they just completely fuck it up. This action is solely intended to be a positive sign of support for the Black community and a way for us to use our platform to help end racism.
What are you doing to end racism by linking arms?
They didn't.
Also, you don't get to tell the Black people how you're going to support them. You ask them how to support them, and then you do what they say because you're asking them. I don't understand what's so hard about this.
You read the words. You solely read the words. They're not bad. But this action is solely intended to be a positive sign of support for the Black community. They're supporting the Black community and a way for us to use our platform to help end racism. Who doesn't want to end racism besides racists? Okay, you know what? I'm fully supportive of the Boston Bruins statement. You cannot be like, here's how we're going to protest the bad thing, and then add, now don't be mad.
Yeah,
You
what the hell is that?
What they did.
Were you afraid of being on the wrong side of history about being anti-racism?
We're doing this to stand in solidarity with the Black community and protest racism. Don't be mad.
Jesse.
Like, you can't, it waters it down.
If I have a question for you, Jesse.
Okay.
I have not helped. But if I were to help you move, you did not ask. I did offer. Let me just say I did offer.
Yes.
I have not helped. But if you were to say, Adam, bring your sexy ass Honda truck over here. It dumps like a truck. Yeah, that's right. It dumps like a truck because it is.
0% APR?
That's right. 0 down.
I have no idea what that
2% finance.
Oh.
I don't even know if that's what it was. I have no idea what my lease is on that thing. Anyway.
I don't know if that's good.
The point here is, Jesse, if you ask me to come help you move, and I say, sure, what do you need? And you say, Adam, I need you to take boxes from my house and put it in your dumps like a truck and drive it to my next place. And I say, Jesse, I'd love to support you on that. But what I'm going to do is stand outside and blare my stereo so that when you're carrying your boxes over to your next apartment, you've got a great soundtrack. Is that helpful?
I would say that's not helpful.
Right. You understand my point here, guys? See what I'm getting at? You ask the community what they need in support. They give you a bare minimum standard, which is take one leg and bend it and take the other leg and bend it the other way for 30 seconds. And you can't do it. Are you kidding?
If someone got in your friend's face, you'd try to, at very least, get in between that person and your friend. And I don't know what you would say, but I assume it would be relatively hostile. Or at very least, strong. You wouldn't say, for what it's worth, friend, I'd prefer if you didn't do that. No offense intended. Which is basically what that was.
Don't be mad.
Hey, listen. I hope you don't hold this against me, but you're threatening my friend, and I don't appreciate it. But, I mean, I value our friendship. But listen, you knock it off. Stand for something. That's all. Stand for something by kneeling,
Jesse,
perhaps, but
final thoughts on this?
It just seems like the NHL is doing very little right now, even though there's two main global conversations going on right now. It's coronavirus and then supporting the Black community, and then things on the back burner like climate change. And we're asking the NHL to stand up for one of them. Tell people to wear masks, support the Black community, and ending systemic racism. And they've chosen to do very little about that. They've chosen to do the bare minimum, and their bare minimum isn't really helpful at all, So hopefully that changes, but right now you can't express anything but disappointment at the league for their reply to what's going on in the world right now.
Fair enough. Hopefully we see something better when the games actually, the real games actually are in gear on Saturday and Sunday.
You compare it to the NBA, a league that's clearly filled with Black players, and the amount, and the WNBA especially, you should look to them because the amount of money they've raised, just how public they've been with their support of just everything that's going on has been unbelievable. So yeah, you compare the two, and it's like you can do the same. Nothing is stopping you. You can do exactly.
The WNBA is trying to arrest the murderers of Breonna Taylor themselves.
Yes.
On their own.
Yes. It's a bunch of black women who are like, we're not going to stand for this shit. And in the NHL, it's like, okay, with quadruple the amount of money, you guys could just do something, and they're not doing it. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if anything changes. If not, we'll keep being vocal about our displeasure of what they are doing.
And in the meantime, if you ever need me to help you finish moving, I will ignore all text requests. Thank you, sir. Just throwing that out there. No, I'm kidding.
How was that for 2 seconds there, Adam?
I know. Listen, I got it. Also, and this is something that I don't expect Steve to comment on, but if we could have a little excitement around the broadcast, that'd be super duper. That's all I'm going to say. I'm throwing that out there. If we could have some pump up music at some point, that would be super.
What do you mean?
Adam
it was
doesn't
a
want
slow trudge down Hockey Lane yesterday.
Adam doesn't want a Stephen Brunt essay. He wants a Michael Bay trailer.
Yes, thank you.
Are you not a fan of Stephen Brunt's essay?
I love Stephen Brunt. No, it has nothing to do with Stephen Brunt. Nothing. Okay. So here's we talked about this.
Stand for Stephen Brunt. We're friends, but if
Stephen Brunt is let's get this out of the way. Stephen Brunt's a fucking legend. Okay, that guy tells a beautiful story. But you have got to look at a broadcast at a certain spot. Now, listen, it's been like months, right? So everybody's a little off kilter. And we've just come off, and not come off, we're in the middle of, at the height of, in the States, a massive global pandemic that's killing tons of people. Let's just be straight about that, okay? But take the global pandemic part out of it for a second. What they have always done is chosen slow song, that's dramatic, potentially sad, somewhat empowering, to kick off the broadcast every freaking time.
By a Canadian band that nobody's heard of.
By a Canadian band no one's heard of. And fine, take the Canadian band.
All right, you know what Canadian bands are? Affordable.
Fair. But is no one in Canada writing a song at 120 beats per minute? Has that completely stopped? This is the thing. You can honor frontline workers, celebrate them. Mm-hmm. Hockey's back. Celebrate the people that got us here. Because it's happening here in Canada, both cities. We should be like, woo! We should all be taking off our shirts.
What should we be like?
Nurses, doctors, truckers, everybody that washed their hands across our chest. We should be waving the flag and pumped.
Shave it into your ass.
100%. Thank you. Not, well, we're going to put our arms around each other and stand in solidarity.
Yeah.
This is the thing. And I understand what's going on in the States is serious, but this is a Canadian broadcast.
And also, sports is back. It's a celebration.
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
And that's what Brunt's essay was. And I think that was cool. I think it was that one to me. Run that after the first period, right? Run that after I've seen some excitement. But I need a damn sizzle reel. It took me 5 minutes to warm up to the game yesterday and this is something that's been happening. We talked about this with Don Cherry when he was let go or fired, from the broadcast. We talked about how they needed to amplify the excitement a little bit. It's getting a little, and that's my thing. And I would say that, and I say that with all respect, that is a tough gig. They're all doing it from home. This is not an easy thing that they're doing, pulling this broadcast off, right? It's a damn good thing that Sportsnet studio is like 5,000 square feet at the top of a building, at the top of the CBC building, because social distancing won't be hard in there. But let's.
It's a big studio.
It's crazy big.
Very big studio.
It's so big. It's the size of like a hockey rink. It's amazing. State of the art, incredible. Let's use it. Let's get pumped. And that's what I'm hoping for. I just maybe that's just because it was an exhibition game, and it doesn't really matter that much. But they sure had the full crew out, and you could tell Cassie Campbell's excited. You could tell Kelly Rudy's excited. And he was talking about I'm 25,000 or 2,500 kilometers away, but I'm still pumped. Like, this is going to be weird. And that's the thing. Let's get a little weird with this. I just want to feel some excitement around the game. Hopefully Saturday and Sunday and Monday and whenever all these games start, that's what we feel. But I can tell you that my opinion is they haven't captured the excitement, especially on Saturday nights, the way the NFL does with the NFL games every Sunday. That's just my opinion. You can feel free to disagree. It doesn't mean they're bad people, and it doesn't mean that I could do a better job personally. I would just like to be excited for the game. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not being the company man here by saying this, but I don't know what they have in the vault. If I were to allocate my resources, I would make the big splash either or both of August 1st and August 2nd. That is when you drop the holy shit, oh my God, hockey's backpack. And you know what I mean?
You're right. That's probably what's going to happen.
I hope so. I don't know. I like not asking because I like watching it, just not knowing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Eric Engels wrote a tweet about Brunt's essay yesterday. And he said when he saw it at Florida, and he's right. Like, especially the back half of that, it was like, whoa. That's what Brunt's really good at. Very few people can hold your attention and tell a story and all of those things. I felt like, I'm like, please God, just drop the puck. Like, can we just watch this damn game? Do you know what I'm saying? And it had nothing to do with Brunt's essay and everything to do. Sometimes it's placement. Listen, if you guys want to come at me, if you work at Sportsnet and you want to angrily email me and tell me what a jackass I am, I'm only the asshole on the couch watching the game, and that's fair. And I loved working at Sportsnet when I was there for the 3 seconds I was there. It was amazing. So nothing against Sportsnet, the brand, or Rogers, the company.
I hope that out there. I hope Frege pulls a Woj and just tweets or just emails "fuck you." Adam, fuck you, Adam.
I just want to get excited. Is that fair? Is anything that I said unfair?
We should plug in Jock Jams on Saturday and Sunday.
Come on.
That's what we should have.
I would freak out. I'd be like, yeah, let's go.
Maybe some Sandstorm.
Yeah. Dude, go down, run down the list of the top 10. I think Nasher did this. The top 10 NHL songs, like in like EA Sports NHL songs of all time that they've used. And like, just roll those top 10 if you can. You probably can't afford it, but you know what I'm saying? Like, just pump that in. I'm in. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I just want to get jacked
How
up.
many of them are Canadian bands, Adam?
No, none
you
of them
can't tell me you weren't pumped to see Swollen Members featured on NBA 2K3.
I was. It was cool.
Yeah. It was a banger. Wasn't even their biggest one.
Let's move on to the Oilers and Flames.
What about them?
Well, first off, it is fantastic to hear Chris Cuthbert's voice again. I'm sad that he's not doing the Toronto games only because I am Chris Cuthbert's biggest fan. He is, right now, the best working play-by-play person in the world in hockey. No questions. He is the best. Secondly, it's nice to hear him say, Connor McDavid! And Connor McDavid looked like Connor McDavid yesterday.
A monster?
He looked
scary monster?
Scary. And that's why I don't have many questions about the Oilers because, guys, I can't remember a time where the Oilers seemed this poised for success. Can you name a time?
Oh.
Like, they may not be on paper, and Oilers fans are going to hate me for this, the most complete team top to bottom. But they have so much top, it doesn't matter.
Dude, we're going to take crap. I know I'm going to take crap, especially if the Oilers win. I mean, we all are. It's a Canadian team winning the Stanley Cup.
100%.
But I was not wrong in my trashing of the Oilers because why I was so frustrated by their ineptitude was you have Connor McDavid. You don't even need to surround him with the best team in the National Hockey League in order to win a Stanley Cup. He needs like a middle-of-the-pack supporting cast, and he'll take care of the rest. Mm-hmm. He's got Leon Draisaitl, too, that two-headed monster. But they've been a two-headed monster for a few years. It's just you can find shelter in their lineup. Okay, we weathered the McDavid storm, and now we attack their third line, which is made of 3 people you've never heard of, and we murder them. We completely demolish them. Now, they have a deeper roster. Mm-hmm. A few prospects got called up who I wasn't too sure how much of an impact they were going to have in the lineup. They absolutely have. Ethan Bear's a big one. Kaylor Yamamoto was a huge shot of adrenaline for them in the middle of the season.
He looks really good.
Yeah.
Yes.
First goal yesterday.
That was cool.
And then the one last missing ingredient, a couple damn saves.
Well, and that's, you're right, Steve.
Mikko Koskinen is giving them some saves.
Chiarelli was right.
And
he makes way too much money. Chiarelli was not right. It's ridiculous.
If he wins the cup, he's right.
It's not a disaster.
Doesn't make it a good deal.
It doesn't look like a disaster, though. You know what I mean? Like it's not good, but it doesn't look like a disaster.
It was at the time. It was
absolutely
played 2 NHL games, and he said, "Here's $4.5 million for 4 years." So that's absurd.
And we've lost Jesse. Oh, there he is.
There he is.
No, there. Okay.
Yeah.
But you're right.
Crap the second he signed that deal.
And here's the problem, though. The reason that it looked so much like crap had less to do with Mikko Koskinen. I mean, it wasn't great. He wasn't great. And I'm not saying he was great. Right. Boo. It's terrible. But beyond that, it was that they didn't have room to fix all the massive list of problems that they had. Right? And it didn't look like he was even the solution to the problem he was supposed to check off. Now he does. Leon Draisaitl's up for 85 awards. Connor McDavid, for some reason, is not up for all the same 85 awards. It doesn't make any. How come Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are not both up for the Hart? How's that possible?
Despite fixing his own PCL.
Yeah.
Like
what?
Fixing his
like
PCL
it's nice that
by
Leon,
himself.
Like Leon's, it's awesome that he's in there and he should be. So should Connor.
This is but neither of them are going to win.
Yeah, it's like, well, they're on the same team, so they can't.
It's McKinnon's award, Adam.
Well, for sure. I agree.
For the same reason that Taylor Hall won it. Except I think Nathan McKinnon is more deserving of the Hart this year than Hall was when he won it.
I agree. Where are the Avalanche without Nathan McKinnon?
He had 40 more points than his next closest teammate. That's stupid. How many teams' second highest scoring player had 40 points?
Right.
That was the gap.
And nothing to say against Artemi Panarin either, who had an amazing season.
Yeah, but his gap was like 20. You know what I mean? The argument for him is the same argument as McKinnon, but McKinnon's is double.
If there is no Connor McDavid, is Nathan McKinnon the undisputed best player in the NHL right now?
It might be Draisaitl without
McDavid.
Yeah.
No,
because they get a lot of points from each other. I'm not saying they're not good.
True.
They do, but
Draisaitl did an amazing job with McDavid out, but that was like a couple weeks. You know what
but they also don't play on the same line anymore.
That's true.
Thank God for Edmonton fans.
They're a two-headed monster like Crosby, Malkin.
Oh yeah.
But Nathan McKinnon is so fun to watch, which is key. He's so skilled. He's so fast. He's intense, though. I kind of want to see – I mean, I don't think we're going to get to see it in this bubble. But at some point, I want someone to try Nathan McKinnon and get clocked. That's the ancient hockey fan in me. Because Nathan McKinnon boxes to train. And he's just a monster of an athlete. Mm-hmm. He's just a monster of an athlete. Takeover ability. There was one game in particular – I want to say this is one of the games where the Avalanche didn't have Rantanen and didn't have Landeskog. I think it was the overtime game against the Vancouver Canucks. And Nathan McKinnon just literally raged himself to an overtime winner. Like I'm getting sick of this. And then he just ended it. And was just lost his mind. I don't know if there are 3 better monsters in the league than Nathan McKinnon. I don't think there are.
I don't think so either.
I think it's McKinnon. I think it's McDavid. And maybe Crosby, but that light is eventually going to fade.
Hasn't yet.
But it hasn't yet. Yeah.
Hasn't yet. Especially in the playoffs.
Especially in the playoffs.
I don't know how you rank Crosby out of the top 3 best players in the NHL right now.
Oh, I don't
think you can. I
would never.
No,
I think worst he's 3.
And I think
worst, yeah.
Worst.
Yeah, I think you got to look to with Sid is that the Penguins, no matter what happens to that team, they're always in it. Mm-hmm. They're always in it,
with or without him.
With or without him. But when he's there, like it's like, well, never get bet against the Penguins, right? And it used to be like, well, always bet against the Penguins. This Crosby kid's a loser.
Now, I know the Penguins lost to the Flyers, but if the motivated Pittsburgh Penguins run into the Montreal Canadiens, we saw the Leafs play. It's over in.
No, we're not talking about that. No, we're not even going to tell when it's. We're not going to even say when it's over.
Okay.
Yeah, prediction.
For a sport that's like you gotta play as a team. He finds individually a way for his team to win, which is incredible. So yeah, never count out Crosby.
No, I've always talked about it, but watching him play in person, watching him play is the best part of watching him play in person. Watching his opponents is the second. Their body language is nuts. Yeah. What do I do?
One major story for the Flames, and this is a major thing, especially considering what happened to them against the Nathan MacKinnon Colorado Avalanche last year. Who do you start? Here are your options, okay? You got Talbot, who went to the second round with the Oilers a couple of years ago, pushed it to the 7th game, had a terrible kind of inter-year period, reinvented himself this season, but had to be pulled last night, which was key. Or do you go with Big Save Dave, who didn't play in the playoffs last year? Mike Smith did an admirable job, but nobody could score for the Flames, and Mike Smith isn't here anymore. Who do you go with your goalie? Because it doesn't seem like there's a clear-cut answer. Do you try a platoon? And if you do try a platoon, somebody's got to go first. Who do you go first with?
Well, and what's interesting, I'm not sure if this is in that series, but if I'm not mistaken, every best-of-5 series, if it goes to at least game 4, has a back-to-back.
Yeah, 4 and 5 in every round is back-to-back.
Ooh.
In every series, sorry.
I think for the Leafs, it's games 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not totally
sure.
No,
I'm pretty sure it's 4 and 5.
It doesn't matter. At some point, there's a back-to-back.
Look it up on Hockey Reference. Anyway.
Yeah. At some point, there's a back-to-back. I'm stunned it was Talbot. Is Big Save Dave hurt?
Well, he was playing. He drew in yesterday.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, after Talbot
got lit up. I was wondering if they were saving Dave for the first game, but like Talbot got lit up, so they moved him in. Like I don't
Big
know.
Save Dave.
Yeah. People also aren't talking enough about how much he struggled this year. He had like a 907 save percentage.
This is Talbot or Big Save Dave?
Dave Rittich.
That's the crazy thing. The crazy thing is in the 2 games against the Leafs, he was so freaking good.
Yes.
So my vision of him is he's this. It's funny. He's not unlike Mike Smith in that his numbers kind of suck, and every now and then he decides, by the way, you're losing tonight.
Jonathan Quick at his height, right?
Yeah, I am allowing maximum 1 goal tonight, and you can go frig off.
Yeah, Pecorine is also the king of that.
Pecorine,
but he does.
Mike
Pecorine
Smith
does it for an entire season, not just a couple games.
Yeah, he does it season on, season off. If you want to score against me, you're going to have to wait at least 18 months. And then you can do it all you want. Then you can do it all you want for the next 2 years.
Did you see the game? Did you see the Florida matchup today with Tampa and the Panthers?
I saw that Brian Boyle and Mikhail Sergachev fought.
Yeah, which was weird. Weren't they not teammates at a certain point? Anyway.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I saw Tampa was playing really good. Playing really well.
Bobrovsky was definitely not.
No.
So that will be an interesting one.
Contract's a disaster.
I know we'll get to it, but there's a couple teams here who I look at and I'm like, you didn't show up to this bubble taking this seriously.
No.
Montreal is one of them. Florida's kind of on that list for me.
We'll just put our skates on and have a good time and take a few more months off, baby.
Yeah.
But so do we have an answer? Talbot with the 917 this year who had a bad night last night? Or do you go with Rittich? I'm asking Steve. I'm asking Jesse. I want you guys. We're all going to make a choice. Steve, go.
Big Save Dave.
Big Save Dave. Whoa.
Yep.
Jesse, who do you go with?
You dance with the girl who you came with. So you're going with Dave.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm dropping that girl, and I'm going with the one I didn't come with, Talbot. You know why?
That's hilarious.
Because he's been waiting, and he's reinvented himself. He's had a good season. I know it's been 4 months, so everything could change. It's like another off season. But a 917 save percentage, you cannot ignore 10 save percentage points, even in a short series.
Yeah. That's a better argument. It's a better argument than the one I was going to make, which is, well, he used to play for the Oilers. Hey, Cam, how do you stop McDavid? What?
Well,
like he has the answer to that?
He doesn't have to play the Oilers, though. He's got to play the Jets. And I don't think that's – and we'll get into that later on. I don't think the Jets are a great matchup for the Flames. No. And also I've got a couple notes from that, but we're going to save those because that pushes us into projection territory a little bit. Lastly, the game wasn't on in Canada, but if you were able to legally stream it, if you weren't in the local area, because the NHL streaming rules are absolutely ridiculous. Hey, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy a package that allows me to watch every game except for my team. Except for my local team. I'm excited.
The blackout restrictions are dropped for the playoffs.
Oh, are they? Fantastic.
Yeah. If you buy certain packages from Sportsnet. But,
so there you go. Yeah. Love that.
Go ahead.
I believe you.
I also have Sportsnet on and TSN on, my streaming, so I can just watch whatever. But I just do find it a bit strange that people are like, hey, I'm in the Pittsburgh area and I bought NHL and I can't watch Pittsburgh games. It's great. Love it. You know that? With the blackout, Steve?
No, I saw people complaining about it, but I had a baby scream at me, so I didn't know.
No, okay. Well, that's what happens. Connor Sheary scored his first ever NHL goal in the month of July. So that's big.
I think it was the first ever for
yeah,
the
no,
whole
it was the
NHL.
first ever. It was the first ever, but it's not because it doesn't count. So it's
That's
not.
hilarious.
No.
But Penguins lost 3-2 in overtime to the Flyers. Not a lot of emotion in this game. Some great skill. Is there anything that you take away from this, or is it just kind of two teams warming up? Because they're not even in the play-in, right? They're the guys. They're like kind of just. Sorry, the Flyers are not in the play-in, right? They're just going to goof around with the other top teams for a couple games.
Right. No, they scored the overtime winner and didn't even look like they cared. Like Ron McLean was zeroed in on, okay, there's been a storyline, is Sidney Crosby 100% healthy? Here's a few plays of his, and yep, looks like he's healthy. So good. Like that's, to me, that's the main thing. You know what I was texting someone about during that game? The Penguins essentially got Jason Zucker. There's two examples of this, I think, in the NHL. The Penguins essentially got Jason Zucker because Jake Gensel was out for the season. Now they get to have both.
Right.
And the Vancouver Canucks did something similar where they got Tyler Toffoli to basically replace Brock Besser, and now they have both.
Yeah.
Very
by the
interesting.
way, apparently they're and again, I'm trying to keep away from the contract talk, but apparently they like Tyler Toffoli so much, they're going to try to re-sign him and potentially trade Brock Besser.
Oh. Always bet on Bim. Always bet on Bim.
Nah, they said it was fake. So
oh, God.
Yeah.
Come on, Bim. Entertain me, Bim.
Your boy Bim. All right. So we're going to get into predictions now, guys. So we're going to start with the Eastern Conference. I'm going to ask you not only who is going to win the series, but how many games it's going to take them to win it. We've got, starting with the Eastern Conference, Pittsburgh Penguins and Montreal Canadiens. It's a best of 5. Steve, kicking it off with you. Who do you give it to, and in how many games?
I give it to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they are going to turn the Montreal Canadiens into a near drinkable pulp. It's going to be 3 games. It's going to be gross. It's going to be disgusting.
Jesse, same question.
I got Pittsburgh. I got 4 games because I'll give Montreal 1. But yes,
why?
Pittsburgh.
Well, I will answer that question.
Because Carey Price will have a good game.
Bingo.
He'll have
Carey
a good,
Price steals 1 for sure.
If you're gonna play a couple games, Carey Price is bound to have an outstanding game. Mm-hmm. And Max Domi or someone will show up and score a couple goals for him, and they'll win 1.
I had no idea Jonathan Drouin was playing last night. I watched that entire game. I had no idea.
I don't think they called his name out on the I don't think
they did.
Said his name.
Did he barely play? Did he get hurt or? Oh, it was not a nice game for the Montreal Canadiens.
Sorry, you mean top line center Jonathan Drouin?
That's right.
Yeah.
Remember?
On the first goal, did you notice how when that breakout pass was hit to Tavares, they had 4 guys inside of the blue line, like their own the offensive zone, and then just one defenseman back? It's like starting the game, they weren't there.
But that's just slop. I mean, the Leafs did that all regular season long, so I can't hold it against the Montreal Canadiens.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's only one exhibition game. I can't say I blame them. Okay, and I'm going to give it to Penguins in 4 as well. And the only reason I'm going to do that is for the same reason, Jesse, is Carey Price can steal you a game. I'm not sure in this series he can steal you a series, but I do have a question before we move on. If, for some reason, the Montreal Canadiens are able to win this series, don't think it's going to happen, cap it out at about 10%. Other than Carey Price, what's going to be the X factor for them? Like, who needs to be big for them other than Carey Price? Because that's every game all the time for the rest of eternity. Carey Price needs to be big for the Canadiens.
For them to even take the ice, Philip Deneau has to be their best player because he's their best and arguably only true center. Mm-hmm. And he's going to be in a shutdown role against an unshutdownable team. So how the hell do you work that out? He's going to be either getting Crosby or Malkin or Jared McCann. Have fun. So for me, he's going to have to get help on the wing. And you know what? The Habs did not start the season that bad, and they were getting a career season out of a guy who I didn't even know was playing last night, and that guy was Jonathan Drouin. I know Max Domi's a good player. Brendan Gallagher is a good player. Philip Deneau's a good player. Shea Weber's a good player. Jeff Petry's a good player. Carey Price is a good player. Drouin, when he shows up, is really, really good. And when he doesn't, he's invisible. It's got to be Drouin.
Moving on to the next series, Carolina Hurricanes and New York Rangers. I'm going to ask you who's going to take the series and in how many games, starting with you, Steve.
Oh, boy. This is a very tough one and an interesting one because the Rangers have Carolina's first-round pick, I believe.
Yeah.
Because at the deadline, they acquired Brady Shea and also Vincent Trocheck.
Oh, that's amazing.
And also Sami Vatanen. I think, I'm going to stick to what I said in my video for Sportsnet, although I'm starting to feel pretty stupid about it. I said the Rangers would actually beat the Hurricanes. I think the Hurricanes, if they get past the Rangers, have what it takes to go very far. I think both teams in this series are extremely good. Carolina Hurricanes are an extremely good team. But the way the New York Rangers were chugging up the standings.
And they have 3 goalies, too.
And they have 3 goalies, which they didn't have in the early part of the season when they weren't in the playoff race, but they were climbing. And DJ Zbad was climbing. And Artemi Panarin was amazing. It just sucks that they lost Brady Shea. One of the ideas I had is, like, you should have the option to take it back. Like, it'd be funny if or like just for they should make a thing where, like, all right, Brady Shea's not allowed to play in this series.
No.
You know what I mean? I said the Rangers. I said that on a hunch. I know it's going to be the Hurricanes, but I'm going to say the Rangers.
And that's what makes it so special. And I'm just leaning off camera here because the games have already started. Carolina, I believe, no.
They've been playing this the whole time.
Washington and Carolina are playing right now. Just not an actual game, but
it's cruel and unusual punishment.
Minnesota, Colorado has been going on, I think, the entire time.
Okay. Yeah. Jesse, who do you take? Carolina Hurricanes, New York Rangers.
You know what? I trust my hockey expert friend, Steve Dangle, and I agree with him.
Wow.
I'm going to go with the Rangers in 5. I think
I should have said
bottom, they're very underrated, especially with the 3 goalie situation. If one guy doesn't step up, you have 2 other guys who can literally be game breakers for you. Also, Zibanejad and Panarin is just nobody appreciates that, and I think if they show up, Carolina doesn't really have. They have their defense is a strength for sure, but I'm gonna bet on those guys in New York.
Wow. I don't know if I've ever sat on a panel where 2 other people have been so wrong. But here we are.
I know.
Here we are.
I know damn well I'm wrong, but I don't care.
Guys, Carolina takes this series, and they take it in 4, because I'll give the Rangers 1, because I agree with you. They are an underrated team. And if you give them a full season playing the way they had been halfway through the season, that's a playoff team, no question.
They make the playoffs.
Jeff Gordon deserves GM of the year. That guy's done an amazing job turning this franchise around, grabbing Panarin. I mean, the city helps. It's kind of great to have one of the best cities in the world behind you. Panarin's a fabulous pickup. He's such a great player. Chicago, I'm sure you definitely would make that Brandon Saad trade again. Anyway, I digress. The reason Carolina's going to win this series, guys, one name, Jacob freaking Slavin. Jacob Slavin, who he should be winning the Norris Trophy. There shouldn't even be other people in the nomination. It should be Jacob. He's not even nominated.
Nominated for the Lady Byng at very least.
Oh, that's great.
Maybe above others.
So nice to give him the Lady Byng, because everybody grows up and goes, man, I just want to win that Lady Byng. Jacob Slavin is, to me, top 3 defenseman in the NHL, probably the best one this year, in my opinion. Jacob Slavin is the reason that the New York Rangers are going to freak out. I don't think the New York Rangers are ready for Jacob Slavin at all, because there are other great players on that team, including Dougie Hamilton, great goaltending, and you've got a fantastically balanced team with Carolina. With the Rangers, they're still incomplete. Carolina's been right there forever. This is New York's first time being kind of right there. Well, we're happy to be here.
Here's
Carolina.
Hold on.
Jacob Slavin.
Convince me that James Reimer or Peter Mrazek can stop the offensive firepower of the New York Rangers.
Peter Mrazek.
Tell me how that's gonna happen.
I'm not gonna try with James Reimer because I think because I think we know James Reimer and we love James Reimer. But James Reimer is a very good secondary goalie on a team, right? Is that fair? Like, really, truly. Okay, so Steve's already mad at me.
Okay.
And he's not even saying anything. He's put his mic off.
So now you're putting Peter Mrazek in there.
Peter Mrazek, when Peter Mrazek is on, is another goalie that you go, holy shit, unstoppable. And, of course, we only saw this because when Detroit would play Toronto, Peter Mrazek would be in net. We're like, well, this will be a cakewalk. And then he just decides to show up.
We saw him allow 10 goals in person, Adam.
Yeah.
We did see that against the shittiest Detroit team since this year's Detroit team. Like, that was the second shittiest Detroit team I've ever seen in my life. This year's was the worst. Peter Mrazek. All right, let's have a look at Peter Mrazek's number. If you guys don't think
they weren't good.
I'm stuck.
He had a 905 save percentage.
Doesn't matter. Look at Carolina.
What's
James Reimer at?
I'd say both aren't great versus the Rangers.
Shut up.
I'm saying Carolina's goaltending might struggle versus the Rangers. And Panarin might roof a couple top corner and pick up 3 wins.
And you could be right. James Reimer, by the way, is
Reimer was a 914.
914, not bad. I think I still think Peter Mrazek's the X factor over James Reimer. Just throwing it out there. But their defense all the way down. Those top 6 are you can't compare any other defensive squad to that, so it doesn't matter. And they can score, so it doesn't matter. And that's where I think, the Rangers are a couple of lines. Mm-hmm. The Carolina Hurricanes are an entire team. That's how I feel.
Without goaltending.
Okay.
With one goalie.
It's not a string. Nothing. You can't have everything, man.
We're mad at you for different reasons.
What is it, Steve? What is it?
Okay, here's how I know I'm wrong and you're right, Adam.
Okay.
I think the Rangers could win on a hunch, but if they do win, they're not going to go anywhere. If the Hurricanes win, they could make it all the way to the final.
Yeah, all the way. I think that's a hell of a team, man. But I've thought that for years, and they've never come through for me. So we'll see. New York Islanders versus the Florida Panthers. Sorry, there's a gigantic motorcycle driving by my house. New York Islanders, Florida Panthers. Based on what we've seen from Bobrovsky today, what are your thoughts on the series? How far does it go?
This could either be a very exciting series because I like the intensity of the New York Islanders, or it could be where fun goes to die. Because the
oh my god, the coaches.
We talked about Trotz. We talked about Quenneville. Oh, Quenneville. Thank you. Trotz and Quenneville. But all the Islanders had was structure. We're talking about a team that the Toronto Maple Leafs shut out with Michael Hutchinson in net. Right? If you play a certain way, they play just this smothering defensive this bucket of that I just hate watching. But here's the thing. They had trouble scoring goals, and they're going up against Sergei Bobrovsky.
It's their best shot at scoring goals.
The Panthers should just play with 6 skaters.
Well,
he's been awful.
So, okay.
But the Panthers are fun, but also not good.
Who do you give it to this series?
The Islanders, but...
In how many games?
4. I give the Panthers 1 because their offense is so good. But you know who the biggest losers in this series are? Us.
What, for having to watch it?
Dude, I just look at all the series and I'm like, do I have to watch this one?
Yeah, that one's a blurg. That one's like, wow. I know. Even announcing it, I was like, oh, that sucks.
Both teams have fun potential. The Islanders are a fun team to watch when they're pissed off. And the Panthers are a fun team to watch with like Barkov and Huberdeau when they're going off. But, do I have to with that series?
Jesse.
I'm going to go with the Islanders in 3.
And
I'm going to because you rarely see sweeps in NHL playoffs. It's a weird thing, but I'm going to say the Panthers don't really show up because they don't get goaltending. Offense struggles randomly, and the Islanders just play good structured hockey.
They were so bad before the pause, too.
Yeah.
They were awful.
Yeah. So I'm going to go. This is our first unanimous pick in terms of team. I say Islanders in 3. I think they're going to steamroll the Panthers. Absolutely steamroll them. The one thing I will say, if the Panthers have a shot, first off, Bobrovsky's got to stop something at some point. He's got to be better than Martin Jones, okay? Just be better than Martin Jones. But also, Vinny Trocheck.
You're setting the bar very low.
I know. Well, he's played that low. Vinny Trocheck, to me, is an X factor for the Panthers. That guy comes on. I mean, obviously, we know Barkov's.
No, he's gone now.
He's gone now. That's right.
He's on the
Hurricanes.
Hurricanes.
The Hurricanes.
Actually, this
Hurricanes are all the way to the finals. I forgot.
Adam, this was a fun factor with the bracket that I did with Justin Bourne is everyone forgot everything that happened at the trade deadline. Trocheck is no longer on the Panthers. He's on the Hurricanes. And Jean-Gabriel Pageau is on the Islanders.
That's right. I do remember that, which was a good pickup for them because they needed some center depth.
And he did well in – I think he might have only played one game, and he was really good in that game. But if I'm not mistaken, he got into a fight, and they also lost.
Dude.
Yeah.
They don't have any Trocheck. Okay, yeah.
Don't have
no,
any Trocheck.
Panthers, you're toast, man. See you later. Goodbye. Man, do I feel better about my Carolina pick? Not that I needed to, but damn.
They loaded up.
Yeah,
they loaded up because they were injured as hell, and now they're not.
I really hope that I hope Carolina and Toronto don't make each other. They don't play each other in the final because I can't bear to see the Leafs be edged out by the Hurricanes yet again for the Stanley Cup Finals. I have already seen that once in my life. I don't need to see it again. Toronto Maple Leafs, Columbus Blue Jackets. Gentlemen, how do you think this series goes? Starting with you, Steve.
I think I even said before the pause, I said if the Leafs ever have to play the Columbus Blue Jackets in a playoff series, they're going to struggle because Columbus is kind of the rock to their scissors. But I just don't think it's going to be as big a factor because everyone is super sloppy. I think we've seen that with the warm-up games, with extra intensity, even though they got guys back because Columbus was injured too. Seth Jones probably being their biggest injury and getting him back is huge. With added structure, I'd give them a better chance against the Leafs, but I just think skill is going to be such a factor. The Leafs win. The Leafs should beat these guys. They have no excuse not to.
And in how many games?
I'm going to say I'll say 4 just because it's difficult to bet too hard on the Leafs defense. But this isn't me being a blind Leaf fan. Like, you have to have confidence in this team that they can at least beat the Columbus Blue Jackets. And if they can't, like I said, you got to look at making some big changes. You don't have to trade Mitch Marner, but you got to make some big changes. Because this team clearly can't do it. Jesse. If they can't beat him, they can't do it.
Did Steve just tell us he wants us to trade Mitch Marner?
He will on Monday when the Leafs lose Game 1, Sunday night on Sportsnet.
No, he's low key. He's low key like the new William Nylander every trade proposal guy.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
No, it's especially not at $11 million or almost 12. No, he's not going to get moved. It's not happening. Also, frankly, as much as I have said, I think this season I was like, I'm ready to turf this dude. Not because I was not thrilled with the way it was going. Mitch Marner on your team is always greater than Mitch Marner not on your team. And this is a guy that does love playing here. And, we talked to Chris Johnston about this. Certainly was a tough start to the season for him. And he was a little upset with how the fans and media treated him. And you could say what you want about that because we've already had our opinions on that and where they're well stated. And I think some of that was drawn by his camp.
I'm over it.
Mitch Marner is living your dream, and he's living my dream. He's getting paid an obnoxious amount of money to play for the best team in the world. So I think Mitch Marner belongs here. Let's just throw that out there. Jesse, go ahead. What's your prediction?
I'm gonna take the Toronto Maple Leafs in 5 because I think it's gonna take them a little bit just to get it together. Because we've seen consistently over and over again with this team is that they'll have it all one night, and then the next night they'll poop the bed. And I don't see that changing just because they've had a little break here. So I see them struggling a couple games, but then eventually winning the series and hopefully this is a precursor for the Leafs getting it together for a nice, solid playoff run. That's how I see it playing out. They struggle maybe a little bit in a couple games versus Columbus, but then the offense just kind of takes off. The defense will never be there because it's not there. The guys don't exist on this team. But they're going to win on the back of Frederik Andersen turning it on, which I think he will do because of the consistent play. He seems to be really good at that. And then the offense turning it up. So I see that happening. I see them getting it together by the end of the series and then going on a nice little run after this.
It's going to be hilarious when Jack Campbell plays Game 5.
Before I
Shut up.
give you my
answer, not happening.
Steve, before I give you my answer, I want to ask you a question. I'm going to run through some Game 1s with you. 2017, Leafs, Capitals, Game 1. Who wins, who loses?
Leafs scored the first 2 goals, blew it, and Tom Wilson won it in overtime for the Capitals.
2018, Leafs, Bruins. Who lost?
Leafs got friggin' killed.
Right.
Because Nazem Kadri tried to kill a man.
6-0 or 6-2, one of the two. Well, the first 2 games were off.
It was bad.
That's all I know. The next year, 2019, Leafs, Bruins. Who wins the game?
Leafs play their best playoff game in I don't even know how long and actually beat the Bruins in Boston. Mitch Marner scored on a penalty shot.
Bingo. What we've seen from Freddie Andersen in the last few years is growth at the start of something. So those first 2, especially that first October when they had 2 wins, remember that?
Oh.
That first October, they only had 2 wins with Freddie Andersen, and people were asking Mike Babcock, is Freddie really the guy? And he's like, oh, no, he's the guy. And he was. And he is the guy. Freddie Andersen, throughout the regular seasons, has gotten better and better and better off the jump from right away because he has committed to getting into better shape, working on skills, all the things that you need to do as a pro athlete to continue to get better. I think we're going to see the same thing in the playoffs. I think we're going to see a Freddie Andersen ready to go. And as Nick Kypreos said 4 years ago on this show, the Leafs live and die on what Freddie Andersen does. And I believe that the Leafs will take the Columbus Blue Jackets in 4 games. I definitely think there's going to be a speed bump in there somewhere. I don't even know if they're going to win Sunday. I know Freddie Andersen's going to play well, but don't be surprised if the Leafs do not score on Sunday. Don't be surprised.
At all? Wow.
Don't be surprised. I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm just saying they may need a game or 2 to figure out these Columbus Blue Jackets defensive schemes.
I think we're going to see very few shutouts. Wow. That's
way more skill than Columbus. But Tortorella taught Sheldon Keefe. Tortorella was his coach.
Yeah, and now Keefe's not playing anymore, and so Tortorella's a bad coach. That's how it works.
I feel like Torts might know what's going on in Sheldon Keefe's head, and I would love to see. I can't wait to see Steve's reaction if the Leafs lose Game 1. I can't wait, especially how they lose Game 1. If Freddie Andersen stands on his head and they can't score, Monday is going to be a fun show. And by the way, that's going to be our next show.
If the Leafs lose Game 1, it shouldn't be a problem. They should win this series even if they lose Game 1, and you can definitely see them losing Game 1. They
should win this series. Period.
Yes, but they often don't show up right away. And that's a curse with the team. And I think we need to know that going ahead is that it's not the end of the world if they drop Game 1.
It will be to Steve, though.
It will be to Steve.
reigning NBA champion Toronto Raptors, Game 1 against the Orlando Magic.
They got destroyed by Terrence Ross.
Yeah.
They lost.
Terrence Ross dropped a bunch of threes for no reason in the Magic people.
That was the thing with Terrence Ross.
And you know who had 0 points? In the first game where I wore his jersey ever, Kyle Lowry. He had 0 poents in that game.
Yeah.
And then he had 11 in the first 3 minutes against Golden State in Game 6.
I remember Sid just because he made it a point of going after Kyle Lowry a little bit last year, and boy, after Game 1 did he go after him. Mm-hmm. But I think Lowry must have seen it or he just is Kyle Lowry and ice cold because he came out and just exploded the next game.
He needed that game to happen. Dude, because I remember he got a foul, and he still had 0 points at this point. And he gets a foul, and everyone cheers because they're like, he's going to get one. And then he missed the first one, and you could feel the whole building go, oh, my God, he's going to miss both.
Yeah.
And then he did.
Yeah. Well, and I
Unreal.
think what was amazing about all that, too, is that Lowry had scoring issues in the playoffs leading up to that, the entire time he'd been a Raptor, him and DeMar would just stop being him and DeMar.
Fixed it.
in the playoffs, and that was
Fixed
part of the problem. Western Conference, Edmonton Oilers, Chicago Blackhawks. This is a really interesting matchup because Chicago ultimately, like Montreal, probably shouldn't be here. However, they've got – this could be the last playoff for that Duncan Keith, Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews, Corey Crawford core, because obviously Brent Seabrook is not playing.
Depends.
So, do you go with experience or do you go with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl?
I thought the Oilers were going to win in 2 because they made it sound like Corey Crawford wasn't going to play.
Right.
And they don't have Robin Lehner anymore. They
right.
traded him to Vegas, and he was a Leaf for a hot minute, which means their starting goalie, I believe, would have been Malcolm Subban. Now, he had an amazing game against the Leafs this season. Dude, that guy's not Robin Lehner. He's not Corey Crawford, or at least Corey Crawford when he's on. Now Corey Crawford is there, and did I misread? Did he at one point have COVID? And now he's back, and that's why he was
home.
Yeah.
Okay.
For 2 weeks.
But, okay, so even if he's fully recovered and everything's fine, then that took away from his preparation time, and you're preparing for the hardest thing you could possibly prepare for as a goaltender, which is facing Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid.
So what do you say? Blackhawks or Oilers in how many games?
Oilers in 3. Easy.
Jesse.
Easy.
Oilers in 3 because I'm not betting against Connor McDavid for this entire playoffs.
Ooh.
I think Edmonton is poised for a deep run because McDavid, everybody keeps saying he has never looked better in his entire career, and I think he's not even peaking. Plus, I don't think the Blackhawks are ready for the playoffs because they were never supposed to be in the playoffs. And then all of a sudden we were like, hey, here's some playoffs for you.
Yeah.
Mr.
Hey, we need to local television. Woo!
Right.
Not the greatest defensive depth. The only way they stand a chance is if they Velcro Duncan Keith to Connor McDavid the whole series.
And to be fair, Duncan Keith's had a bit of a resurgence this season. He's been much better.
Is Instagram scary? Is Instagram scary?
Oh, he's in amazing shape.
Yeah. But Edmonton they've become more than McDavid at this point.
Yeah.
When Draisaitl's up for the Hart and Yamamoto's up, it was looking great.
Well, and you've got Clefbaum and Darnell Nurse and some really strong people on defense as well. It's that's a much more complete team than those two guys. It's just they're the story every night.
And James Neal isn't in Calgary, so he plays well.
Yeah. Crazy.
He's been decent. Did you see Puljujarvi doing a bit of a walk back today?
Yeah, saying they got a new GM and coach, so I might sign it. Edmonton.
Never say never.
No.
Man, he should have put his pride aside. You could have been a part of this, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Well, he's learned his lesson. Also, if I were him and they had tried to make me play through double hip surgery, which remember he had that last year. Remember? I wouldn't have signed with them either.
He was right to leave. But I think now's time to come back.
Sure.
It's time to come back.
Sure. But they had to earn that, man.
Yes. No, they did. They 100% did.
Disaster.
You're absolutely right.
12 months ago. Disaster.
Totally.
Okay. I'm going to just say my quick prediction on the Oilers and Blackhawks. I'm going to say Oilers in 3. I don't even know how many goals the Blackhawks score. I think this is going to be – remember when they played
4.
Nashville? And everybody's like, well, that seems like an even series. And Nashville just kicked them around like it was nothing. I don't think Chicago scores more than 3 goals in this series. I'm serious.
I think they'll score, but they'll
maybe DeBrincat gets a couple, but I really don't know. Who's going to score for you? Taze is not a big. I know Kane.
That guy couldn't even beat me.
There, but it's going to be. Is it going to be Alex Nylander? Is it going to be Brandon Saad? I don't think so. Edmonton in 3. That's the first time that we've been unanimous on our games and picks, sirs.
Hey, I want to ask you something, Adam.
What?
The Blackhawks have a guy who was nominated for the Calder. What's his name?
No idea.
Kubalik.
Oh, yeah.
That guy had over 30 goals. He had the most – it's weird. The Blackhawks get all the attention in the world, but, only 3 guys?
He gets nothing.
He gets nothing.
Can I tell you why it's ridiculous that he's nominated for the Hart or for the Calder?
Yeah.
Why?
He's 24. We have another Panarin situation.
I'm okay with it.
And it's Chicago again!
It's Chicago!
Always.
They'll trade him for some middling guy very, very soon, guys.
The good news is they can't trade him for Brandon Saad.
No, that's right.
We'll try.
Or they
would
trade
try.
Brandon Saad again and they'll get him back. We're going to take one more swing at it.
Yeah.
Brandon
Hey,
Saad.
can you hold this? All right, thank you. Can we?
No offense to Brandon Saad. It just wasn't a fair deal.
Full offense to Brandon Saad. No.
It's not Brandon Saad's fault.
No, it's not.
You guys are cool with the 24-year-old getting a call there? No?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I think if it's your first year, you're a rookie year. I don't care how old you are.
What if
I know
you're
people
30?
Who cares? It's your first year. You're a rookie. Greenhorn, baby. Doesn't matter.
I don't like the caveats that they put on it. Like Gretzky was never Rookie of the Year because he had previously played pro. Frig off.
Yeah, and then Ray Bork won it, which
should
Austin
Austin Matthews be disqualified for his rookie season?
They changed the rules.
Based on that logic, yes. But no.
It's very confusing.
No, but remember, this is 1980s NHL logic where they had just absorbed the WHA, and they were very proud of that because they'd been legitimately threatened by the WHA in the 70s. And they were like, no. And then they were also trying to legitimize 4 franchises that they took from the WHA. So it's like, well, that was pro hockey too. These count. So it's stupid and terrible logic and should never happen. And Gretzky was the best rookie that year. No offense to Raymond Bork. But we all know who the best rookie on the ice was. Yes. Nashville Predators, Arizona Coyotes. This will be a very interesting series. You had both teams up and down years, some struggle scoring. Who do you give it to, Steve?
This is very difficult because the Coyotes were a very good team when they had both Darcy Kemper and Antti Ranta playing. They were low-key one of the better goaltending tandems in the NHL. Taylor Hall, a little bit of a comeback. They still have Phil Kessel. He had a bit of a down season. I think Arizona's goaltending, if it's healthy and it's on, can definitely steal this series. But I got to give it to Nashville just based on seniority.
Been there.
Yeah, no, I think. But I will say this, and I'm gonna carve another team later in this conversation. I am tired of Nashville being the Western team that cries wolf. I am so tired of every year where like this is their year. And have you noticed we've stopped doing it?
Well,
they legitimately got close. They got close. They went to the Stanley Cup final. You can never take that away from them. But then after that, what noise have they made?
Somebody had to take San Jose's spot.
And there was another team. Oh, just you wait. There was another team.
To be fair to both, they had some pretty stiff competition. Like the West was pretty strong for a lot of years.
Ask St. Louis Blues fans if they got any slack. They didn't. Oh, we keep running into who gives a shit. Go home. You lost. And then last year they won. But what? Boston's good.
So
if they had lost to Boston, well, they ran into Boston.
So who are you giving it to?
I give it to Nashville.
In?
5.
Jesse Blake. This is a tough one. Like, I don't know if there's a wrong answer here, honestly, because I don't know what either of these teams are. Jesse Blake, what do you think?
Yeah, admittedly, I don't know a whole ton about Nashville and Arizona, but I like the idea of Arizona finally gearing up to go for it this season and it working out a little bit. I like the idea right after the.
Is John Chayka there anymore? I missed all that.
No, he's done. He's
not.
Yeah,
no, he is done.
Yeah, he's out.
I knew there was something wrong. No, I don't think so. Was there a statement?
Oh, it was crazy.
I was wondering why we hadn't talked about it.
Yeah, I've been a bit distracted. Okay, so
you talk about it. I'm gonna look it up.
Okay, so Jesse, continue. Sorry.
I'm going to go with Arizona because I like the idea of Chayka gearing up to finally go for it, making that Taylor Hall deal, getting Phil Kessel, Ranta or Kemper, whoever one they want to go with, actually playing well, you know? And I like the idea of them knocking off Nashville in this first round, hopefully in 5 games. I'll pick it 5 games. And so, yeah, Arizona's my pick. And the Chayka situation we'll get to.
Yeah, so we will get to that. Let me just make my quick predictions here first. And the reason I say I don't know what these teams are is because every time I've seen them, they've been different. Each time I watch the Coyotes or the Predators play this year, they've been different. Sometimes you see the Nashville of old, although they can't score. They're missing whatever James Neal was in 2016. They're missing that. And they've tried to solve that, and they haven't been able to solve that. They just cannot score. Arizona, got guys that can score. Taylor Hall, Phil Kessel, come on. Can't score. They put on a Coyotes jersey. I don't know what happened to my skills. They're gone. Now, I think that the potential that Arizona has in scoring is going to be the edge in this series. Phil Kessel and Taylor Hall need to show up. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, you already know he will. Darcy Kemper, pretty darn good goaltender. And if you can't get him playing well, Antti Ranta's not bad either. Because Antti Ranta, remember, was supposed to be the starter. There are good players on both sides here. If Pecorine is anything other than spectacular, Arizona wins this series in 4. And I'm going to give it to Arizona in 4 games. That's what I think is going to be the deal. I actually think offense is going to be I know that's a big hot take, but I think Taylor Hall's showing up for this series because he definitely needs to with this new contract on the thing. And Phil Kessel's been a disappointment. And I think he's a good playoff performer. We've seen it. The one time he got to the playoffs with the Leafs, the 2 times he was there with the, winning the cup with the Penguins, outstanding in the playoffs. I would love to see Arizona and their fans. They deserve this. Sorry, Nashville. You know I freaking love you. But I think this is Arizona's time. So, yeah, Steve,
nothing
now I did see a little bit about John Chayka being offered a job outside of hockey, and then the Coyotes being cool with him interviewing for
it's the Devils.
It's with the Devils.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, is that the rumor, Jesse, or was that confirmed?
So it's confirmed, but not confirmed because they can't, I think, legally or technically say anything.
What happened?
The idea is he got offered the Devils job, but the job would have been more than team president. So there was a rule in his contract where he couldn't leave for like a lateral move. It needs to be an upgrade and kind of have more titles. So
he had to have GM and president or something like that.
Yes. So New Jersey the New Jersey group who owns a Premier League team, I believe, and they're also going to own an MLS team, and they own part of a football team. I'm not sure which one. Might be the Steelers. Not sure. But those guys wanted to talk. They wanted to talk to Chayka to bring him in to run this little. He'd be president of hockey plus a couple other things.
Wow.
And Arizona told him he wasn't allowed to go talk to them for the interview. He wasn't even allowed to talk. So yeah.
So did he quit?
So then he quit.
Yes. So here I'm going to read. I have a bunch of tweets. They are fantastic. I'm going to say,
Steve, your microphone's a little bit muffled too. Just throwing that out there. Great.
How's that? Okay,
fantastic.
Sorry. So this is from Kent Summers, who works for the Arizona Republic. Latest on GM John Chayka's status with the Coyotes, per NHL source. John Chayka terminated his contract 48 hours ago. I have no idea what the team is doing at this point. Craig Morgan wrote an article, and the line to bring you in is an NHL source says John Chayka is a liar and a quitter. Ghost Hoffa put together a series of tweets. This one from Craig Morgan. NHL source, John Chayka is a liar and a quitter. From John Gambadoro, this Yotes-Chayka situation could get very ugly. Apparently, opportunity for Chayka to go back to the East was for a lot more money. This is what Jesse was talking about. Could Yotes look for compensation? Is this breach of contract? Could be some legal battles upcoming. From an NHL source, Chayka lied to Coyotes about his opportunity with another team that it was non-hockey related. Yotes would have never given him permission to leave if it was for a hockey job. He quit on the players, coaches, and staff as team prepared to depart for Edmonton.
The timing sucks. Let's be honest.
And just to correct myself, it was the owner of the Devils owns the 76ers. It was a Pennsylvania team, but it was the Philadelphia 76ers. And then Crystal Palace in the Premier League.
That's a pretty big team.
Yeah. This is their official actual statement. As
Coyotes?
Out, this is from the Coyotes, as tweeted out by Chris Johnson. The Arizona Coyotes issued the following statement today regarding John Chayka. John Chayka has quit as general manager and president of hockey operations of the Arizona Coyotes. The club is disappointed in his actions and his timing as the Coyotes prepare to enter the NHL's hub city of Edmonton, where the team will begin postseason play for the first time since 2012. Chayka has chosen to quit on a strong and competitive team, a dedicated staff, and the Arizona Coyotes fans, the greatest fans in the NHL.
Well, they're not, but sorry.
The club is ones that
Why
are
do we say that?
Are.
Stop that shit. Come on.
The club is moving forward and has named Steve Sullivan as interim general manager. You keep it down. He has the full support of the organization, including team ownership, executive leadership, players, and coaches. The club will have no further comment on the matter as the club remains focused on the opportunity to pursue a Stanley Cup.
You know what this smells of?
Seemed biting. Yes.
Who's the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers? Jess, you remember his name?
Dan Gilbert?
Yeah, Dan Gilbert, owner of also the Washington Football Club.
Oh, is he?
Maybe I have the name wrong.
I think it's Dan Gilbert, isn't it?
Does he own both?
I thought it was Dan Snyder.
Oh, Dan Snyder.
Dan Snyder. There you go.
But anyway, forget that part. Dan Gilbert threw a hissy fit when LeBron left.
He said Benedict Arnold.
Called him Benedict Arnold and then said, we will win the championship here before LeBron ever wins one in Miami. They didn't even make the playoffs.
No.
So, I think in this particular situation, you got a Coyotes group that is admittedly small, right? The ownership group on down. It's a smaller staff than a lot of NHL teams have. And that has to do with the fact that they just don't have a lot of market share of Arizona sports. As I told you, I went down there for my honeymoon back in the day, and I asked the person at the car rental place, hey, where do the Coyotes play? And she said, don't even know who they are. In Phoenix. So
in fairness.
I know they don't play in Phoenix, but they're the one fucking hockey team in the state. You'd think they should do. And she's at the rental car place where you ask people where things are.
In fairness, I got into a car in Regina, Saskatchewan, and I asked to go to the arena, and the guy had no idea.
Right.
What arena for what team?
There are 5 buildings in Regina. Are you joking me? Like where the Regina Pats play, the big arena, the biggest building in the province. No, I'm joking.
No, that's where the Rough Riders
in Regina, it ain't far off. Saskatoon, I like. But
Can I say that I don't think the two stories are the same?
They're not.
They are. They are.
But let me throw this at you.
We are the same, you and I.
Steve's taking this story and going, I made this.
Adam made this? I made this.
But the thing is, with a smaller organization and anybody that works for a smaller business, and I'm not saying the Coyotes are small, and I'm not, by the way, saying that their fans are not great, but let's not overstate the best in the league. Come on. You got to fill an arena before you can start trying that. I think maybe Nashville is up for that, but I don't know. I still want to see a Coyotes game up close. The point I'm trying to make here is this is when you have a smaller organization, it's a little bit more like a family. Things get personal. And John Shaka, if this were a normal year, would have quit at a normal time. But what's happened here with a global pandemic going on is it's thrown the timelines off. Now, is him quitting right now good? No. But I don't want to think for a second that the Coyotes ownership is blameless here. I just don't know. I don't know John Shaka personally, but I have a hard time believing that he wouldn't have wanted to stay there, finish out the season, and go, like what Steve McFarland's doing with the Leafs right now as the assistant coach. He's going to move on to the Kingston Frontenacs. Paul McFarland, excuse me. And I understand that that's a different league and it's a different thing. But this is very clearly, if he is going to the Devils, it's very clearly an upgrade, and he's going to make an astounding amount of money, and he's going to be on the East Coast near his family. Do you really think that do you think that John Shaka would want to just quit and make himself look terrible? Because if he did, think about this from his perspective. You're the general manager and you're the president of hockey ops for an NHL team. If you quit going into the playoffs without any prompting or without someone pushing you to do so, then you're an asshole, right? You're an asshole and no one wants you. No one wants to hire you. When's this guy going to quit on me next?
No, he's blacklisted.
But you got a smaller ownership group that's new to this because they just took over, right? And they're pissed, understandably. Yeah. And you got a global pandemic. Normally this would be the right time to quit, but it's not. And they stood in his way. And frankly, in life, sometimes you got to do the asshole thing and secure the fucking bag, which is what John Shaka did. He went, he got his money, he's closer to home, and he's with a franchise with, frankly, more stable leadership. I don't really think that he necessarily made the worst choice in the world.
Mm-hmm. Can I give you the quote from AZ Central about the Hall negotiations from last week?
This was the other thing. He wasn't even involved.
There's so much evidence that this is not Shaga's fault and that he had an opportunity.
Please do. I did see this.
We'll get back to the bracket in a minute, folks.
Right. Okay. So this is from azcentral.com. Coyotes general manager John Chayka, who signed a contract extension last November, is no longer leading negotiations to re-sign forward Taylor Hall, according to an NHL source with direct knowledge of the situation. The source confirmed reports that Coyotes owner Alex, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Marullo?
I think so.
Marullo and his son, Alex Jr., and team president and CEO, Xavier Gutierrez, had a dinner meeting last week with Hall. At the meeting, the Coyotes made Hall a lowball offer, according to the source. John wasn't at the meeting, he wasn't the one who set it up, and he wasn't the one making the offer.
Wasn't invited. He's the general manager and president of Hockey Ops.
And it's so weird that negotiations with Taylor Hall would be made public.
I know. Who could have done that? And who could have said it was a lowball offer? Even if the offer was $20 million a year, Darren Ferris would be like, that's lowball bullshit. What is this? Somebody call Darren Drager and get me my story.
Listen, I rewatch my favorite movies too. Welcome to the party, Arizona Coyotes fans. Welcome to the party.
Don't worry, he inevitably signs. That's the way the movie ends. He'll stay. Who else has got the cap room to sign him?
He's a UFA.
Guys,
different rodeo.
He's staying. He's staying. That's the team with the money and the desperation to sign him. Trust me, he's staying. Because now
cap space and money are not the same thing.
But Darren Ferris is in a great position here. If I'm Darren Ferris, you've just lost your president of Hockey Ops and your general manager, and you look stupid, and then you tried to make him look terrible, which just makes you look bad. What the Coyotes did with their press releases, instead of being classy, they went after the guy personally and made him look terrible in front of the public, right? All they would have had to do is say, thank you, John, for your contributions, and people would have been like, what the hell's wrong with John Chayka? But instead they attacked him. So they look bad, and they need a win. That ownership group, that president, they need a win. Alex and Alex Jr. and Mr. Gutierrez need a win. They got to re-sign Taylor Hall. Darren Ferris knows this. And he's looking around the league going, cap's frozen for the next 3 years at $81.5 million, and most teams are already up against it. Taylor Hall is going to stay in Arizona, and he's going to make a fucking fortune. It's great. Darren Ferris wins again, man. Darren Ferris is the evil villain that always gets away with it.
When he and I one day have our reconciliation beer, he's buying.
With Darren Ferris?
Yeah.
Listen, man.
I'm not turning down a beer with Darren Ferris. Don't you want to pick that brain?
Oh, yeah.
I want to see him haggle with the wait staff.
Please.
I want to see.
Please write a book so I can learn how to negotiate like you, man. Seriously.
What's on tap? How much? Okay, how's 3?
Anyway, so that is one hell of a story, you guys. You're absolutely right, and I'm sorry I almost missed it. Let's move on to the next one here because we are running out of time. Vancouver Canucks, Minnesota Wild. This is an interesting one because the Canucks are getting back all the players that were not healthy, and the Minnesota Wild were, fine.
Joke team who had just fired Bruce Boudreau and were somehow the one of the hottest teams in the National Hockey League heading into the break. And the fact that the way their season went, the first half of it, and the nightmare summer that they had, the fact that they're even in this 2014 pool is impressive to me. Kevin Fiala had 16 games in 12 games after we wrote him off as a bust. Minnesota can make some noise
Paul
here.
Fenton was right.
Paul Fenton, Darren Ferris, they're all on the island of Rielly, Bim Jennings will throw in there too.
Yeah.
No, I still pick Bim Jennings' team though.
So you pick Canucks in how many games?
5. It'll be a fun series. It'll be the most fun Minnesota Wild hockey you've ever watched.
True. Jesse.
I'm going to go with Canucks in 4 because I secretly love the Canucks team. I love Pettersson. I love Hughes. I love Besser. I love Horvat. They have such fun young guys that I don't want to root against them, and I think they're going to show up.
What about Jay Beagle? Antoine Roussel?
They can't compete
Big
with
money
Tyler
guys.
Toffoli.
Big money guys.
He's going to be dressing.
Oh, yeah, he's going to be playing.
In the warm-up game.
Jesse, I'm with you, but I think Vancouver sweeps this series. I think the X factor is a healthy Markstrom. That is the guy for me that,
huge.
If you look at what matters in an NHL game, goaltending's number 1. and you look at who's got the best goaltender, and usually you pick that's the team you pick to win the series. They absolutely have a better goaltender in Markstrom, assuming he stays healthy, because if he's not in, it's a different series. But if Markstrom's in, I think with Vancouver scoring punch up front, remember, they still got Chris Tanev. They've still got a pretty strong, solid structure defense. I say Vancouver wins this in a walk, and that's nothing against the Minnesota Wild, who definitely deserve some credit for coming back and actually playing with some fire after that trade deadline and everything. You know what I mean? They kind of resurrected a bad season.
It's a Jeff Merrick quote that he brings up once a week. Hockey should just be called goalie. Right.
That's fair. Absolutely. And the last series in the West, and we're gonna ignore all the championship play-in stuff because who cares? Those teams don't care. We don't care. Whatever one's seeded where, that's great. Good for you. Sorry, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Washington. Not Pittsburgh. Sorry, Washington, Philadelphia, Boston, Tampa. Like, yeah, we get it. You're great. Yeah. Calgary and Winnipeg. Who do you take in this? Because this is this is the opposite of the Islanders and Florida series. This is excitement, this series.
Adam, what should hockey be called?
Goalie.
Jets in 4.
Ooh.
Dude, and this is the team I was alluding to earlier. Every year we go, here we go. They're going to go a little bit further. Just you wait, just you watch. And at what point do you stop believing in the Calgary Flames? Listen, if they do it this year, it'll be a surprise to me because I am tired of every single year being like, oh, and I mistake the intensity of their fans for the intensity of their team. I love watching Calgary Flames games, but I think their fans and the atmosphere in that arena make that team appear more intense than they are. And Johnny Gaudreau has laid back-to-back eggs in the playoffs. Sean Monahan, I would file under very good. I don't know about number one center. They got some really good pieces. I just don't believe in them.
Calgary, just from being to a million Flames games, the fans are always great. The team just doesn't seem to ride that.
Fans are unbelievable.
Man,
I just don't believe in them.
They're so
loud. I don't
loud.
believe in that team.
Jesse, what do you think?
People forget, too, that the Winnipeg Jets were one of the best teams in the National Hockey League before this last season for the last 5 years running. They've always been in the conversation in those top teams. Mm-hmm. And then now that Hellebuck's been playing out of his mind, and it would have been cool. What if Dustin Buffalo came back? Surprise comeback. That would have been crazy. But
have a time to play the game,
right?
Boom, fireworks.
Yeah. I'm gonna pick the one of the best teams in hockey right now versus a team that's been so wishy-washy over the last 2 seasons.
Okay,
so I'm gonna go Jets in 4.
Steve, what did you pick? It was Jets in 4. And I'm going to echo that. And I'll tell you why. There's 2 reasons. Yeah, Jets in 4 for me. Now, the first one is Connor Hellebuck should be up for the Hart this year, and it's absolutely ridiculous and embarrassing. Because they talked about it even on the sports broadcast. They were like, well, you got a couple votes. What are you watching? The Winnipeg
Jets, a trophy.
The Winnipeg Jets do not exist without Connor Hellebuck this year.
No.
Most valuable player to his team is absolutely Connor Hellebuck. And I've been beating this drum, and if you disagree with me, look up his numbers. Look it up. The guy's been amazing. And here's the other thing. As we said, talking about Sean Monahan, talking about Johnny Gaudreau. I'm a Tkachuk guy. Love him. Gaudreau, when he's on, love him. Monahan, when he's on, pretty good guy. Pretty good guy. Between those 3 guys last year in Colorado, how many goals did they score? You guys guess? The entire series. Those 3 guys.
Who are the 3? Gaudreau, Monahan, and
Tkachuk.
60 goals.
No. I'm talking about just the Colorado series. 5 games.
One?
Between 1 each? Or
no,
just
total.
As a total? Okay. Jesse?
I'm going to take the over.
You're going to take the over. What do you think? How
2.
many? 2. Well, you're both wrong. 3 between the 3 of them.
Ew.
It's not good.
Ew.
Monahan didn't score. Monahan scored 1 goal and had an assist. Gaudreau had 1 assist the entire series. 1 assist. And Tkachuk had 2 goals. And I think he had a couple assists too. So he actually came and showed up.
We were talking all wishy-washy who's going to be the starter for the Calgary Flames. You cannot be asking that question heading into a series against Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler, Patrick Laine, Nikolai Ehlers.
Murderers.
Neil Pionk? What are you doing in that conversation, my love?
Josh Morrissey.
He had a ridiculous season. But no, Hellebuck, 922 save percentage, a record of 31, 21, and 5. He was unbelievable. If he gets hurt, Laurent Brossoit was 6-7-1 with an 895, and I'll say Calgary in 2.5.
Yes, 100%.
But with Hellebuck in the series and playing like Connor Hellebuck, there's no reason they should lose.
If, and this is a question I want to ask you guys before we get to the end of this year. If the Calgary Flames do not win, if the predictions are correct on this show, which they often are not, and the Jets win this series, 4 or 5 games or even 3, is it time to blow up the Calgary Flames core?
Yes.
Blow it up or make it move? Blow it up is the question I asked.
What is blowing it up?
Well, I mean, I think the 2 major pieces are Monahan and Gaudreau. So if one of them goes, because Giordano's in there, but he's getting older. TJ Brody, I don't know if he'll be back. So what are you saying?
Blowing it up would be getting rid of Giordano. Because he's old.
Value.
That's the move. But to me, Monahan wouldn't be blowing it up. That's a significant move. It's not blowing it up. Blowing it up is either you get rid of the leadership in exchange for new leadership, so that'd be Giordano, or you get rid of the guy, quote unquote, which is Gaudreau. And he hasn't been a good enough the guy for them.
He hasn't.
No, okay, if you look at the Battle of Alberta, right, or you even look at their division, right, you want Johnny Gaudreau or you want Elias Pettersson?
Oh, Pettersson.
So they lose that battle.
All day.
You want Johnny Gaudreau or you want Connor McDavid?
Well, that's not fair.
You want Johnny Gaudreau or you want Leon Draisaitl?
That's not fair either.
How far down the Oilers roster do you want me to go?
Well, if it was Cassian or Gaudreau, I would say Gaudreau.
There you go. Do you want Gaudreau or Tkachuk?
Or James Neal. James Neal scores more in the playoffs. James Neal scores more in the playoffs. He's a playoff guy.
Unless he's on the Flames.
Yeah, well, he didn't make them.
It's just he's got to, at some point, and again, what, are you going to base it on this year? So if they were to trade him, you'd be like, oh, you're basing it on this year? No, I'm basing it on this year and the previous 2. So, and if he doesn't look like he's ready, which some people have said, like, oh, Johnny hasn't looked very good, well, then what have you been doing?
Right.
A lot of other players in this league look ready.
And don't forget, too, that Calgary does not have Travis Hamonic. He's decided to sit out. And that's so, that's a major loss for them.
Yeah.
TJ Brody is an incredible defenseman, but it's a big load that defense is going to have to shoulder against Winnipeg. Major. If they can get past Winnipeg cycling low, Calgary's got to shoot on. It's got they might be able to make it through the defense, but they got to shoot on Connor Hellebuck. I just don't see how they do it. And let me ask you this: this is their core, guys. This is their core: Giordano, Lindholm, Tkachuk, Gaudreau, Monahan. If they lose, which of these 5 fingers am I not holding up?
Adam, I think there's a toe you're not holding.
Who's the toe? The
toe is Brad Treliving. I think if the Calgary Flames... Ew, oh my God.
I was pressing it into the floor. That's why it's yellow.
Jesse made such a good point.
Oh my God.
Dang.
For anybody who's listening to the podcast, Adam just showed us his toe.
You said there was a toe missing, so I was just bringing it to the show.
Listen, mine's uglier.
Adam's toe.
Mine's uglier. I'm not showing it though. Oh God, man.
I'm gonna read you guys some things.
Okay.
Beat the Canucks in the first round. 4-2. Good series. Lost in second round to the Anaheim Ducks.
Nuts.
4-1. Did not qualify for the playoffs. Lost in first round. Got swept by the Ducks. Did not qualify for the playoffs. Lost in first round. 4-1 to the Avalanche. That is Brad Treliving's record since 2014 when he took over as GM. I just don't think the resume is there for him to remodel this team if they lose here. So I think you bring in a new GM. I don't know about a coach, but they just had that coaching change after Bill Peters.
They've had several coaching changes.
Yes, so I think it's about time for Brad to lead the franchise if they lose here in the first round.
Wow. which means rebuild a little bit. Tweak
a little bit. Bring somebody else in to tweak it.
They're already young.
Yeah,
like,
and they could be a good trade away, right? Like it's not hopeless.
They're not a disaster.
No.
They're not a disaster. It's just like I keep looking at them and I'm like, I just see second round max, and that's all. I can't get excited for that.
And how many kicks of the can do you get?
Right.
100%. Right. So next show is going to be Monday night because we are going to go back to our regular schedule, except for when the Leafs are playing on the night that we would play. So if let's, for instance, if the Leafs are playing a Sunday night, we usually do Sundays and Wednesdays. We're going to move it to the next day so we can talk about the game and preview the next one, obviously, because, hey, it's Leafs first on this show. But we will be covering the rest of the playoffs and all the other teams just kind of like we did today because that's what we do. So be looking out for us either Sundays or Mondays, depending upon when the Leafs play, or Wednesdays and Thursdays, right? That's sort of we're going to be, riding that line as long as the Leafs are in the playoffs. And if you're an anti-Leafs person, don't worry. They probably won't be in that long. So then we'll go back to Wednesdays and Sundays anyway. If you've been watching the Leafs, you know this. Now, one thing, we'll bring back the press conference next time. We'll even maybe do a history corner one of these days. But I think I wanted to end it on a happy but a bit somber note because today is the final show where we will be the Panago Pizza Steve Dangle Podcast. The show isn't ending.
I'm leaving the show, guys.
No.
Oh, God.
Panago Pizza, Adam and Jesse show about, we're not sure. No, it will be just the Steve Dangle Podcast. After 7 years with Panago Pizza, the relationship has not come to an end, but the contract has. And obviously, this is not how they wanted to end it. This is certainly not how we wanted to end it. But unfortunately, when you have a global pandemic, your plans change. This was supposed to go on a lot longer than it has. And I think, rarely do you get to talk about a sponsor of a show, an advertiser on a show, in the terms that we get to talk about Panago. But if I were to write a book, Panago Pizza is going to be featured prominently in it when I talk about this story, as it was in Steve's book. This is a group of people that believed in us when we were doing 2,200 downloads a show.
If that.
If that. No, we were doing 2,200s. I remember talking to them about it. They're like, how's your show doing? And they said, yeah, we'll jump on board with that. And they have grown with us every step of the way. There's only been about 3 or 4 months of ever doing this show where Panago wasn't involved. And so, with that, I think relationships like that are very special. You don't see them. If you work in marketing and advertising, you know this. It's seasonal. And these guys, no matter what, stuck with us through everything. I think we did a great job together at the live events.
They were cool. They didn't stop us from doing anything.
That's right.
We kept saying, are we allowed? Do you have a problem with it? And they never did.
And they, amazing social media team that interacted. And so here's the thing. We just wanted to say an official thank you to the Panago Pizza part of the Panago Pizza Steve Dangle Podcast. It's going to be very strange doing this without you guys. But Fiona Rigby, especially at Mercer Creative in Vancouver, what a wonderful person to work with all of these years. And there's been so many people that we've worked with in the intermediary, as well as Carly, who is no longer with Panago, but was the head of their marketing team for years and years and years. Thank you to both of them for believing us the way that they did. And we certainly hope that this is not the last time we get to work together. It's just a mere pause. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
And that is the theme of 2020, isn't it?
Even like the little stuff of just like every live event we've ever had has been catered by Panago Pizza.
Yeah, they just send pizza.
They just send pizza, like that stuff. It really matters.
Yeah, and like this isn't a bad breakup. This is think David Dobrik and Liza Koshy. Remember that?
I will not think about that. I'm gonna cry.
No, man.
I know.
Break my heart
no,
again.
but that's what it was like.
Yeah, but in this particular case, this is how strong this partnership was. It took a global pandemic for it to end. That's the kind of strength we were on, and I just. I think it's a very special relationship, and will always hold a special place in our hearts.
Yeah. Stuff in our face with deliciousness all this time.
Always. And I do want to say this is a good opportunity to say, first off, we've got a new partner coming on board in a different capacity next episode, which we're very, very excited about it.
It's Pizza Nova.
It's not.
I'm just kidding.
It is not. But it is. It's a partner we're very excited to talk to. We've got several partners joining us for the playoffs and that sort of thing. But I think it's a good time to mention, and we never do. If you've got a business, big or small, if you're a sole proprietor, if you're in a partnership, if you got a marketing company working for you, whatever it is, feel free to email us, stevedanglepodcast@gmail.com. We've got all sorts of rates for all sorts of different sizes and packages available and that sort of thing. So that's great.
Different packages.
That's right. We can fit any budget. But in the meantime, we're very excited about this group coming on. There's a couple of the others that will come on in mid-August. But thank you once again to Panago Pizza. And thank you to everybody who supported Panago Pizza supporting us by tweeting us every time you went to a Panago Pizza, because that was amazing too.
That pushed our relationship with Panago over the top, because people actually went to Panago's and was like, I'm eating Panago because I listened to this damn stupid podcast.
Yeah, people not from Canada.
Yeah, people coming from the States and people flying over from England and I'm doing what every Toronto tourist does. I went to the Panago on Bremner and I got myself it was so cool. And it was amazing, guys, how often over the last 7 years, people from Panago who had been with us the whole time were just wow, so your listeners are different, eh?
Yeah.
They're really different. They are something else. And they loved you guys and still love you. Buy Panago Pizza, damn it.
Yeah,
that one's for free.
Don't stop.
That one's for free. They're opening one by my house, and I'm gonna eat it. Yeah.
So we will be back with another full show on Monday afternoon / Monday evening, whenever Jesse and his fine editing skills are able to get the show up. And then we'll see with the rest of the weeks, but we'll be announcing each show and when they're scheduled to be. Obviously, during each broadcast, so that way you're aware of when the next one's coming. But again, as soon as the Leafs are out, it's back to Sundays and Wednesdays, and hopefully that doesn't happen till late October.
Right. No. The next time we all sit here, an actual professional hockey game in the NHL that counts for standings and points will have been played.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter @Steve_Dangle, @AdamWYLDE, and @Jesse Blake. Brought to you by Panago Pizza. Order at panago.com and stuff your face with deliciousness. Connection complete.